We're gonna test your brain skills.
I ain't got much.
All right, I'm gonna call this interview session meeting to order. Before we start, Mr. Payne, there's one thing we need to sure up. Being the circumstances of the board, Mr. Shoulders is not going to be able to be here today. It's being prior for his family, and Mr. Taylor, he's not going to be here today. He should be back home this weekend. Of course, Mr. Lewis is on video chat, virtual, because he's dealing with COVID right now. So we do have actually 6 members present for the interview. With that being said, we're not going to be able to pick the 3 candidates today, because for the integrity of the board, we want all 8 candidates here when we vote for the 3. So with that being said, I've kind of pulled the board right quick. We are going to postpone the 3-person interview on March the 9th, the Monday night at 5 o'clock. But we still are going to have a board meeting where we can choose the 3 candidates that we want to take to the final round. And right now, if it's fine with the board, I'll entertain a motion. We've got our regular board meeting and our board retreat on Tuesday, March the 17th. We'll be here all day. I know it makes it a hard weekend, but I want to tentatively set Monday night at 5 o'clock. That's all right, y'all. 5 o'clock for the final round interviews for our 3 candidates. They all said they was fine
On the 16th.
on the 16th. And then that way, on the 17th, like we planned, we can name our new director of schools that night. If that's fine with the board. I would entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion. I'll say.
Motion made by Dr. Mack, second by Jay Hessen. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. So we'll still have a board meeting on Monday, March 9th. And that will choose down to 3 candidates. And then on Monday night, a week later, March the 16th, we'll have our interview. And then March the 17th, the regular scheduled board meeting, we'll pick our new director of school. Okay, that's good. With that being said, we're going to start on the interviews. And Mr. Pounds, you're the lucky man, got number 1. So what we're going to do here is first going to act, we've got 10 questions. And there's maybe 2 questions in each question, some of the questions. So be leery of that. Give us the best answer you can give us, and James volunteered, and we're going to let him. He's going to ask all the 10 questions, and then at the last, the 6 board members that's here are going to come back around with their own question, maybe off of something you might have said, or just something out of the blue, or just they've got a personal question they want to ask you. Okay. All right, Jay.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Towns. Thank you for coming. On behalf of the school board, I'll be reading the interview questions. So, question number 1. Tell us a little about yourself and why you want to be our next director of school.
Well, I was born not too far from here. Grew up a little community called Cato. In Trousdale County, but about a mile from Macon and Smith County. Went to school, Trousdale County Schools. Went to the University of Tennessee. Got my bachelor's and master's degree in animal science. Worked for a few years for the University of Tennessee in research and education. Worked for the extension office. Worked at the research center in Crossville, Tennessee. And I wanted to get back closer to home. So I was fortunate enough to be able to get a job with the Agriculture Extension Service in Trousdale County. Worked there for a year, and got to work with school kids through the 4-H program. Was good friends with the ag teacher there. One thing led to another. They had a position that opened up. Got into K-12 education, teaching ag there. Taught there for 3 years. Moved to Macon County. Moved jobs to Macon County. Worked there for 5. While I was there, had the opportunity to go back to school, get my administrator license. And I really enjoy teaching ag in Macon County. I love working with kids, FFA program. But after I've been there 5 years, I had an opportunity to take an administrative job, or at least apply for one, and that was here in Smith County at Smith County High School. I've been here since then. Started out as an assistant principal there. I worked in that role for 3 years, then was principal for 2. Miss Melinda Spivey left here for another job. So I've been here for the last 7 years as the career technical education director and high school supervisor. Why am I interested in this role? To be honest with you, I never started in K-12 education with a desire to be director of school. I wanted to teach, and I wanted to be around kids, and it just seems like those roles have found me for one reason or another. I enjoyed administrative roles at the high school, and I've enjoyed my role here. They've all been different, and the impact that you make in students' lives are a little bit different depending on the role that you're in. But over the last 7 years, we have started a lot of good things here in Smith County. And we have, I believe, a wonderful school staff. We've got good school leaders that put our kids first. That's important to me. We started some great things, I believe, in career and technical education. I want to see those things follow through. We've started a lot of good things. Our performance in our schools are increasing and getting better. And I want to see those things, I want to see them through. So that's my why for putting in for this job.
Thank you. So, question number 2, what is your leadership style and what strengths do you bring to this position to lead Smith County schools successfully?
Well, as far as leadership goes, there's a lot of different ways to go about that. But I think the 2 things that have to go hand in hand, if you're going to be an effective leader, effective organizations, you have to have good relationship building skills, and you also have to be an effective communicator. I'm not I guess, bark at people on, you got to do this, and this. But I think clear communication on what the expectations are from the top down. And you have to empower the people that you work with. Working in a position in a school as a principal, you have to have an effective staff around you. You have to have effective assistant principals, and you have to have effective teachers. And you have to communicate that vision and goal that you have for your school. You have to communicate that to those folks and hire good people and let them do their jobs. And that's what I believe in, but it starts with relationships. Teachers can't be effective teachers if they can't have good relationships with their kids. And the same is true inside of school. Principals, assistant principals, coaches, everything that we do, it's built around relationships and effective communication.
What would be your 3-year strategic vision for Smith County Schools? And what measurable indicators would you use to evaluate progress?
Well, a 3-year vision for the schools, if you're leading a school system, I think one of the things that's got to be at the top of the list is academics. I mean, that's why we're here, to educate our students. And I think one of my goals would be to continue the progress that we've been making. We see improvement across our grade levels and across subject levels. Of course, we had a big dip, just like everybody did a few years ago when the COVID-19 pandemic came along, and we rebounded from that, and we're seeing improvement. Of course, we get annual metrics on our academic performance that we go through every year, both at the district level, school level, and at the classroom level. So continuing that vision. And then, of course, with this role, a big part of the job is fiscal management and responsibility. And there's been a lot of talk about our budget, funding, and those sort of things. And I think just I think it's going to take 2 or 3 years to look at our departments and programs and our schools and make sure that we're managing as effectively and efficiently as we can. I don't think that's something that a new director is going to come on the job and July 1 and is going to fix or make a lot of changes between July 1 and December 1 or even June 30th. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to evaluate those things and see what improvements or tweaks need to be made. And then just continuing a big part of what I've done, and it's near and dear to my heart. I told you where I started out at as an ag teacher, career and technical education. The programs and initiatives that we've started in that, I want to see those come to pass. I'm trying to start calling it CTE Career Center, but the old Save Lot building, getting that building finished, up and going, seeing students going through that. I want to see that running like we've envisioned for that to be.
So how should a district balance preparation for post-secondary education, workforce readiness, and career technical pathways?
How do we balance those? Well, in my opinion, that's our job, is to make our students ready for post-high school. And there are a lot of opportunities today that we didn't have even 15, 20 years ago. There's opportunities for our students in high school, in middle school, and even in elementary school that we didn't have 20, 30 years ago. I think you have to, and we talk to teachers about this all the time, if you're teaching, you have to have the end in mind. You have to have where you want to get those kids need to get to. You need to have that in mind when you start. And so providing those opportunities for our students, and over the past several years, and it's not unique just to Smith County, but the number of early post-secondary opportunities that students have today that they didn't have even when I was in high school, that they're able to take college courses while they're in high school. They get exposed to that. They get exposed to how that process works. When they go to college, they're going to have a lot more responsibility placed on them than what they are in high school. And we try to transition that. You don't want to just completely throw all that on them in high school. But and I tell students this all the time, especially when I was in high school and working as a high school administrator, and you had students coming from middle school into high school. They were always nervous, 8th graders moving up to high school. And I would tell those students, you're ready. When you get to 8th grade and you finish that, you're ready for high school. And you wouldn't be when you were in 2nd grade or 3rd grade or 4th grade. But by the time you finish middle school, you're ready for high school. And what we want our students to have is the tools that they need to be successful. Whether they want to start into the workforce, whether they want to go to technical school, or whether they want to go to a 4-year university, we want them to be prepared for that. And I think the things that we've got in place now, we're getting our students there.
How would you improve student performance on state assessments such as Tennessee Ready while maintaining a well-rounded educational experience?
Well, I'm a believer in this. Test scores are important, right? That's one of the ways that we get graded. As a school district, as a school, as a teacher, but it doesn't paint the whole picture. That's the same thing we'll tell students when they're going to college, and colleges will tell them as well. It's required that you take the ACT to get into college. They have minimum scores, but they don't tell the whole picture of that individual. Test scores are important. And we have, and this is not something new, but something that we've started, and it starts from this office, creating the vision for our schools and working together. There's not a magic pill or solution that you can just say, oh, this will fix, or this will make our test scores, knock them out of the top. It's complex, it's difficult. The students that we have coming to us are faced with so many different things. They're coming from different backgrounds and different home lives and different challenges that, a lot of times we don't even know. We may know they're having a difficult time or having a hard time. So it's important to make sure, what we want them to do is be able to possess and have those skills, academic skills, to where they can be successful. But that starts with the school leaders working with teachers and teachers working together. One of the things that we've been doing for the last several months, we have academic meetings monthly with our principals, and we do walkthroughs in schools, not to catch a teacher doing something or not doing something, but to help them. It's a collaborative effort. We don't work in silos. I have to work in the current role that I'm in with the other supervisors here. We don't just work on our things. We work together to try to tackle the problems and issues that we have in the district. The same works in a school. Effective principals, they're in classrooms, they're seeing what's going on, and they're trying to help those teachers be as effective as they possibly
can. How visible should a superintendent be within the schools, and how would you structure ongoing engagement with students and staff?
I think that's important. I think it's important to not just, well, let me address the schools first. I don't want to be in this role and be unapproachable. I think superintendent ought to be visible in our buildings from time to time. Now, I don't think a director of schools ought to be feared when they walk in the door and everybody like, oh, the director's here today. But at the same time, I think it's important for the students and teachers and parents to know that the director is interested in the things that are going on in their buildings. And we've got 9 schools here in Smith County. I don't know if the director is going to be in all those schools every day or even every week, but I think a certain amount of visibility and accessibility within those schools, and not just the schools, but in the community too. I think it's an important role. I think as a school system, things have changed over the last several years, and there are lots of education options for our families and our students today. That wasn't there, didn't exist 30, 40 years ago. And one of the things I think we need to do is promote our school district and promote the good things that are going on, that we offer, the things that we can provide, opportunities that we can provide for our students here in Smith County, and that we're a premier education option here. And we know that the state law requires that school-age children have to go to school, but they don't have to go to us anymore. They can choose private school, they can choose homeschool, they can do a lot of different things. And I think one of the things that we need to do, and all of us do, primarily, our brains just aren't wired that way in K-12 education. We're more about, teaching kids and trying to make as much progress as we can with those kids. We don't think about self-promotion, and I don't mean it in a negative light, but I think we do need to promote the good things that we're doing here in this district, and opportunities that our students here in Smith County can have through Smith County schools that they just can't get in other places.
Right now, thank you. Says, how are public schools funded in Tennessee, and do you believe the community should better understand school finances? Why?
Well, of course, you all know this. The school funding formula has changed in the last 3 years. It used to be based on BEP formula. Now it's the TISA formula. Schools are funded both state and locally. There's a base funding amount that we get for our ADM, which is basically the number of students that we have attending or enrolled, rather, here in the district. Those are based upon enrollment records that are gathered monthly. We get funded, I think the BEP formula, the first year of it, it was at a $6,875 per ADM. That number has increased every year. I think the second year was $7,075. The third year, or the year that we're currently in, I think we've been funded at $7,295. A portion of that base is restricted for minimum amounts for teacher salaries. I think last year, or the current year that we're in, we're required to spend enough of that money to make our minimum salary $47,000 across the state. That's a requirement. This next year will be 50, and so we haven't seen what that number is going to be yet, but that base number should increase as well to bump that up. That's the base. From there, there are direct funding based upon where I think a sparse district, we get classified as that. We get an additional percentage of that base. We also get an additional percentage based on the number of economically disadvantaged students that we have. And then we also get additional funding based upon our students with disabilities, depending on what disability they have that's written into their IEP, what services they need. Those pay a percentage of that base as well. The last part of that, I guess, part of the funding formula are career technical education courses. Those are not determined based upon the base amount of money, but the state has set a schedule for those programs of study and those course progressions. The first couple of years, it was just a base or a flat $5,000 per CTE student or CTE ADM. This year, we're being funded, I think, a year one, level one course is $5,100, and I think a level three, year four course is funded at $5,700 per ADM. So that is added to that. And then the last, that is the basis for how schools are funded. Of that total, what that totals up to, the state is responsible for the majority of that portion, but local funds are responsible for a portion as well. Of course, I think we also get federal funding. One of the grants that I'm responsible for is the Perkins grant. Perkins and Perkins Reserve passes through the state. Those two together are about $110,000. Of course, Dr. Johnson manages the consolidated budget, and then Eric Swan manages special education. We get some federal funding for those as well. The last piece of funding, not talking about external grants or things that we may get, but that's part of the TISA funding, are outcomes. Bonus funding that comes in December. Those are based upon three different metrics. With elementary students, it's their third grade, the number of students that are proficient. They are in the met or exceeded category on the ELA test, or if they weren't proficient in third grade, if they make significant growth in fourth grade, we get paid a percentage of the base on those students. And it's different depending on if they, I think it's 10% of the base, unless they are an economic disadvantage or special education student, then it's 20% of the base. Middle school, it's 8th grade. They have to be proficient in math and ELA, TCAP assessment, or have significant growth from the 7th grade test. High school, it's based on the college and career ready indicators. We get bonus funding on graduates that there's 4 or 5 different criteria. If they make a 21 on the ACT, and then it's something in addition to that. If they have received industry credentialing, and we do that in all our CTE courses. So also if they have 3 what they call early post-secondary opportunities, they've taken dual enrollment past that course. And again, it's weighted the same way. if it's a student that has disabilities or economically disadvantaged, we get 20% of the base for that outcome. I think this past year, we got somewhere around $270,000, $280,000 just on our bonuses for those three outcomes. But that's the basis for how schools are funded here in Tennessee.
So, next question, what are the first three areas you would review when assessing a school district's financial health?
Well, first of all, I want to see what the expenditures are, see the plan that's been put in place for the school district. Most of our budget's made up of salary and benefits, and we're a large employer. We have a lot of employees, 9 schools, and I think if you're looking at financial responsibility, I mean, there are things that we have to pay for, right? We've got, I say things we have to pay for. For instance, transportation department. State doesn't require us to provide buses, but my gosh, we've got to do that if we want kids to come to school. I was a kid that my parents both worked and they left early in the morning. That's the only way I could get to school. I rode the bus till I turned 16 and got my driver's license and was able to drive to school. And I think going through each department and just making sure that we're as efficient as we can possibly be. I think that efficiency goes, through our staffs at our schools. I think there's things that you have to look at just to make sure that we're run efficiently. I'll tell you this, with the things that I've managed, and started out pretty small when I was teaching in an ag classroom, but I had a school fund that I was responsible for, that I had to make sure that I had enough funds when I was teaching ag that we could do what we needed to do as far as the greenhouse, taking kids here, there, and we basically the way we had to make money was fundraise. To me, it was like it was my money. If I'm going to be working that hard, I just looked at it like it was mine. And so I wanted to be as efficient as I could possibly be to make sure that we're getting maximum amount out of every penny that we raise. And I think that's the same thing I have to go for. Even it's a much larger scale, obviously, but I think we have to maximize and get the most out of every dollar that we're spending. And keeping in mind, why we're here, to do the best thing that we can for our kids and prepare them. But I think looking at efficiency and those things, I think that would be primarily what we have to look at.
In the event of a budget shortfall, would you be willing to make staffing cuts if necessary to meet financial obligations? Or would you try to find new revenue streams to address the gap?
Well, I think it's a complex issue. I don't think there's a one magic pill that's going to fix anything. I think it'll take a combination of things. I think it'll take a combination of maximizing our efficiency and increasing our revenue stream. Now, someone might say, how does a school district increase the revenue streams? Well, we increase it by increasing the number of students that we have. Now, we have seen growth in Smith County schools. We've seen growth in student enrollments in places, but we've also seen decline in other places. And I think, maybe we can go out and think outside the box a little bit to try to recapture some of those students. I know we referenced the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's for most of us something we've tried to forget and put out of our mind. But during that period, we lost a lot of kids, lost a lot of students, and some of them never came back. And I think maybe thinking outside the box and things that we can offer families and students of Smith counties to try to encourage to get some of those back. I don't think the population in Smith County is declining. We still have a lot of kids that are here in Smith County, but I think that's part of it. I think doing the most that we can to maximize that TISA funding to make sure we get every dollar that we can. And again, it's what I tell my people. We want to do what's best for the kid, right? I mentioned those TISA outcomes bonuses. We will get if a kid takes an industry credential test and they get past that test, that helps us. But we want to make sure it's helping the kid. We don't want to just do things just to make kids do it to help our bottom line. We want to do what's right for our students and our kids. And I think if we keep that in the forefront of things, I think we'll move in the direction we want to move. But it's going to take, I believe, a multifaceted approach. I don't think there's a one thing that just fixes everything here. That would be my beliefs in that.
10th question that we have is, where do you see the greatest opportunities for improvement in our school district?
Greatest opportunities for improvement. Well, I think we have a lot of good things that are going on, and I say that because I'm in classrooms. I see the good things that are going on. I think we have the opportunity. I'll just be honest. Our test scores aren't where we want them to be. They've improved. They've gotten better. There are a lot of districts in the Upper Cumberland region that would like to have the test scores that we have. But I think there's room for improvement with all of those. I think there's at the high school level, I've seen it here at the middle school. I've seen it at our K-8 schools. We have good people that are working so hard. I mean, they are really working hard to improve the outcomes for kids. And I think continuing to provide the things that they need to be able to do that. I think, one of the big things that we need to do that sometimes it may not be the first thing we think of, but it's educating our community, educating our parents about the opportunities that are out there, the things that we have to offer for those kids. We've seen improvement if you look at our average ACT score, it's got up to about 20. We were on target. The state goal a few years ago was to get the average in Tennessee to be a 21 by 2020, and then COVID happened, and everybody went backwards. And we were on pace to get there. Of course, that didn't just affect kids in high school; it affected kids all the way down to kindergarten. And we're 5 or 6 years post COVID, and we're getting, I believe, where we want to get to, or we're improving. But what we've seen an increase in the percentage of kids that are hitting that benchmark. That's increased year over year. We want that to continue. I think it's important that we make sure that our kids that want to go to college, they want to be a doctor, they want to be an attorney, they want to be a pharmacist, they want to be a physical therapist, that they have the things, they have the right preparation here so that they can leave here and be successful. And just as important, we can't forget about the kids that they want to work with their hands, they want to go to work as soon as they get out of high school. We have opportunities for kids to work while they're in school. And we help put students and employers together. That's one of our charges too, is to try to do that and just set kids up to be successful. That's what we want. We've got the greatest resource that there is, and that's our kids. And we want our kids to be successful. Identify what they think they'll be good at, what they believe they want to do, provide them with the things so that they can be successful on that path. But that's what I'd say. And we've still got room to go. We're not where we want to be in all of that, but we're improving and we're getting there. But that's what I would respond to that question.
All right, that's our 10 set questions we have to ask. Now the board members might have a question that they want to ask. And Scotty Lewis, I'm gonna start with you, but I do know you're long-winded, so.
I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Towns, one of the questions kind of referenced, uh, and for lack of a better phrase, community relations. Uh, while you're not in an elected position, we do have to interact a lot with other, county agencies and things like that, and that's important to me. Can you kind of give me your thoughts on how you would move forward with a higher profile in this role, building some bridges and things with other agencies in the county?
Sure. I think it's, if you're, um, the director of schools in Smith County, I think you have to have a good relationship, with, the Smith County Finance Office. I think you've got to have a good relationship with the county commission. I think a lot of the times, the reason that we have, of course, what the Board of Education and the Director of Schools responsibilities are, they differ, from what the primary charge of the county commission is. However, they're both interrelated, and they both need to understand the challenges and things that both of them face. And I think being visible at some of those, just being visible in the community, there are things that go on here, and I remember back when I was working as principal at Smith County High School. That position, you could have been at something at the high school every single night, just about year round. And one of the things that I try, and it's, most people think about the athletic events that we have, ball games, things of that everybody likes to come out to. And I enjoy those. And those are important. They're an important part of the school system. But there's other things that are important too. Whether it's, the band has a concert one night. I couldn't make it to every single thing in that school. But I tried to spread out and come to as many things as I can, just to be visible, just so they knew that I knew what they were doing and that it was important to me. And I think the role that's here, the director of schools role, I think it's important to be visible in the community, just so, not to say, look at me, but just to be part of the community, see what's going on in the community. And I think if we better understand each other, then we can have better relationships moving forward. So that's how I would answer that question.
We'll just start here, Mr. English, and we'll just go down the table and personal questions, right? As you're aware of, our general fund is spelled, I think, 2.8. Last year, maybe they may call another 3 to 4 this year, maybe closer to 4 projected. If we get to a situation where we have 5 million left, and the board has to reduce the funding that we set for the director to operate under, you may have to make immediate changes. What would those be? I know that touches sort of on a question we done had, but I guess I'm just looking for a different answer. Maybe not a different answer, but putting in those words, I don't feel like we can pass the same budget of the 38-1 that we passed.
Yeah.
Look one more.
Well, if that's the case, I think there are some things that I don't know. Their staff changes every year. Right? If you work in the school system, there are people that are retiring every year. There are people that are leaving every year, and then we're hiring people every year. And I would be lying to you if I said, yeah, I'm willing to just start slashing up one side and down the other. But I think you have to be, just like we tell teachers when they're looking at data, there's a kid behind every data point. Behind every position here in the school system, there's a family, there's a livelihood. But at the same time, you have to balance that with efficiency in our schools and in our district. And if that's the case, then the first thing I'm going to do is not lock myself in a room by myself, but I think it's something we'll have to do together. And I say that the principals, department heads, and the director of schools to see how we can be as efficient as we possibly can. Again, I don't think it's a one thing. I mean, it would be, we'd all love it, right? I mean, we'd all love it if there was just one thing that we could do and make everything like we want it to be. I think it's going to take a multifaceted approach, and I think it's going to take a little time. Just from, I haven't looked at everything. I don't manage the school district's budget. I have the pieces that I'm responsible for. But I think it will take a little bit of time. And I think you have to take the approach that we've got to do what we've got to do.
Chris Down. This is just a hypothetical question in a sense, but the two high school principals, I'm just going to use them as an example. Would they be allowed to run their schools as they wish, and or they be running under a policy that you felt like it would be fair to both sides, to the students on each side? Like maybe the principal at one school was more lenient on, I'm just going to make up something that's not, their parking lot's trashy, students are just throwing trash everywhere. And then another's come to another school and that, it looks like it's a golf course, it's really. So my question is, are you going to try to use them as the best you can to run it same in both sides of the river?
Well, I think it's important, having worked in that position, right? I've worked as a principal, worked with other principals, and what every principal in this district, our guide to go by is the board policy. So we have to stay within board policy. And but within that board policy, I think building level principals have to have some autonomy to run their business, as long as they're staying within the framework of what the board policy is. I'm not a micromanager. I don't want to be, and in a district the size that we are, with the number of schools that we have, the director of schools can't be the principal at every building or act in that way, if that makes sense. So I think you have to give those principals the autonomy to do their job. But at the same time, if there are things that as the director that you think need to be changed or tweaked, I think that you have a conversation with them. And we've got two high schools here. We've got 3 K-8 schools here, got a middle school, got a K-2 school, and then have another elementary school. So we've got lots of different frameworks. They're all different. The challenges, some of them are similar, some of them are different. That's one of the best things that we have done, in my opinion, in my time here, is getting those principals together monthly for an instructional academic meeting to let them talk to each other, because they share ideas. This is how I've done this here. And sometimes they can take it back to their building, and it's something they can implement, or they can work, or they can tweak it. It's been something that's been really good. We've had principals just in the last few months go and do walkthroughs with the other principals at their schools, just to see things that they've got going on. In this role, when I was Smith County High School principal, I wanted Smith County High School to be the best it could possibly be. In the job that I have now, high school supervisor, CTE director, I'm responsible for the high schools and helping both those principals and all those teachers. I want both of those high schools to be as good as they can possibly be, academic wise. They both have, some differences and some different challenges, but no, I don't want to, go in and say, hey, both of y'all got to do exactly the same thing down the line. I think both, not only high school, with the others, they need some autonomy to be able to do their job effectively.
Thank you.
So you know that we are under the 81 Act, which is a touchy subject around, so I understand that. But I just wanted to ask questions, says how do you build a working relationship with our county mayor and the commissioners that is cooperative but preserves the school system's independence and vision?
Well, I think it's important for everybody to be at the table. I think it's important for conversations to take place. I think it's important for both sides to have an understanding of the challenges that they face. And, you mentioned the 81 Act and the county finance, and that's changed, life for me some. It's just different than what it was before. I have a good relationship with all the people that work in that office, and have never had a bad relationship with anyone on the commission or the county mayor or anyone else. But I think it's important to have those conversations, and also, you can't compromise what we're about, right? I mean, what the schools and the Board of Education and the Director of Schools, their responsibility is to do the very best that they can, as efficiently and productively as possible, but manage the school system. And the county's got, passes the budget of the school system, but they've got a whole lot of other things that they've got to worry about. And I think, just communication, being able to sit down at the table with folks, be accessible. I think that'll help and go a long way.
Mr. Towns, for many years, the National Education Association and many institutions of higher learning have promoted an agenda that undercuts our nation's traditional American values, such as patriotism, etc. What actions will you take to protect the traditional and conservative values that are held by our community and its families?
Well, I think, just being vigilant on things that, this is a conservative community for the most part. I have conservative values. There are things that are important to me. And I think, we can't just, and staying, and I want to be careful about this too, we're a public education. There are things that, we have to comply with the law. We have to, and I don't always agree with what the law is, just to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know that anybody does on everything, but there are parameters that we have to work in. But I think, we have a lot of programs and initiatives that are going on in the classroom that promote those things. You walk in our buildings and you're going to hear the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. You're going to hear a moment of silence. We have Veterans Day programs. We have things in the community. The community here is so passionate about their schools, about their people in the community. I think the things that we have to be careful of, and we have from time to time, every so many years, we have to adopt curriculum, and we don't have any control over what a curriculum gets approved. And a lot of the things that you hear on the news, and there are things that get in some of those curriculum, and sometimes we don't always find them until you're teaching it. Now, y'all that have been on the board for a while, you know how that works. The state, they first have to approve all the vendors, and then we get an opportunity to go through that curriculum. And there are some that we look through that just don't represent the values, I guess you might say. They don't write a lot of curriculum just for Tennessee. They write it for national, write it for the whole country. And there are places that don't have the same values that we have here in Smith County. But I think just doing our due diligence, to try to, instill those values in our kids. I thought about this last night. Our kids that come to us today, they're from every different walk of life, from every different family structure. Some of them, some of you may know this. Before I started working here as full-time bus driver when I was teaching too, and I never let my license go. And I also for Miss Diane from time to time when she gets in a bind. And you ride those bus routes and you see, kids on the same bus, and some of them I don't know all the particulars of every situation, but you see there's a lot of differences in the kids that are here and the resources that they have before they get here. And some of our kids, the most stable person or people that they're around in their lives are the few hours that they're at school. They get 2 hot meals while they're there. And we've got to remember that as educators, as leaders in our buildings, that those kids, we have to we have to be our best every day for them. And I think if we do that, it starts with hiring good people. It starts with that, having a clear vision for what you want accomplished, and clear expectations. And I think when you do that and put on the right example every day, I think we can continue to hold the same values and traditions that we've had here.
Thank you, Mr. Towns. I want to ask one, well, maybe 2 questions. Finish this up. You have any children?
I do. I have one daughter.
She publicly educated, private school educated, or homeschool?
She attends public school. She is a senior in high school. Will be graduating in May from Trousdale County High School. She's attended there the entire since she started in kindergarten. When she started in kindergarten, my wife was a teacher at Trousdale County High School, so she rode school her every day. She dropped her off. My wife is a registered nurse, and she taught in the CTE department down there. Actually taught for TCAT Hartsville, but she actually worked in the high school down there. Done that for a few years, and then got back into practice in healthcare. She worked at a nursing home down there for several years, and now she works at the hospital here in Carthage. But after my daughter had been in school there for 4 or 5 years and had her friends and relationships there, she didn't want to change school. Yeah, she's a product of public education. As so am I.
All right, Mr. Towns, thank you for your time. Appreciate you, and we'll let you know something on the 16th, the 9th.
The 9th.
No, we won't tonight. Yes, we will.
Yes, the 9th.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Well, I just want to tell you all, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, you gonna get the next one? I have no clue. I just know how much the stories last.
I think I'll try to use third. I think that's it.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
You done a good job.
Your public education is shining through.
That's right.
No, I can help it. Either it comes all out.
Yeah.
I know you're intelligent, but I sound like I'm good. Dr. Matt.
No, since it's passed.
Are any of y'all going to the funeral?
I told Amy,
I'm planning on going after, but it's like,
Yeah.
I've been called.
yeah, I told Amy if we got done, I'm going to see.
So it's
What?
I think the time will work about right for this whole year. I know it goes with some of y'all. Are you going, Marty?
Yes. You talking about the bridge?
Yeah, but after.
How are y'all? It's the hot seat, I guess, right?
That, or you can use the podium too.
Okay, I think better standing.
Yeah, I do too, and your voice, is louder if you're saying.
Yes, perfect.
This is less for this room
Okay,
and more for the recording.
yes.
If you don't mind.
Is that okay right there? See if I can do that. There we go. I do have a pocket. I think I have.
Or even just sit it on.
I'll just sit it right there. There we go. That'll make me stand still.
Oh, I need your fresh cup. Let me get your fresh cup. What do you want, water?
I've got water.
I like that last question. So.
Did you live in Athens?
I did not. We lived in Monticello and then we lived in Congress.
I was friends with
Yes, I know exactly where that is.
Somebody says we can have a Spanish.
Yes, it's number 20.
Oh, no, I know exactly.
Or inspection.
Oh, my.
About my own experience. What saving comes
Yes.
Oh, gosh. College roommate lives in Greenville now.
Mhm.
And we go down and visit with him 2 or 3 times a year.
It really, it doesn't even look
We're
like.
talking 50 years ago.
Oh, yes, well, even we've been gone 20 years. It looks nothing.
So and he went to school that way, but it's cut, so we cut it the rest of the way, we got out.
The last time I almost did, I couldn't figure out what it was. Because it used to be that there was nothing between the houses. And now.
That was the end of that.
Yes, it was.
Now,
I mean, you exited, turned on the Atlanta highway, and it was nothing. And now it's just houses that are
Dr. Matt Reed.
really important stuff.
All right, we're ready for that.
Okay.
We can start, and we've appointed Mr. Hessen. He done an excellent job with his questions, so you can understand it pretty good. So we'll start with him. We have 10 questions to ask you, and then we're going to come back around with one question apiece for the 6 hours.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. And did I tell you? Make sure I don't know. We're not going to interview on the 9th.
Okay.
On the 9th, we are still going to meet and pick the 3.
Mm-hmm.
The 16th, Monday afternoon, on the 16th, about 5 o'clock. If you want, we'll get in touch with you. That'll be the last round of interviews, and then we're going to pick the director of schools on the 17th.
All right. Perfect.
Okay?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, on behalf of the board, we want to welcome you and thank you for coming. The first question that we have is, tell us a little about yourself and why you want to be our next director of schools.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and it's an honor to be here. I am a 38-year veteran educator. I started my career in North Carolina, and we moved to Georgia. I worked in a rural school system there for 7 years, and then we moved to a little more suburban area, Conyers, Georgia, where I spent another 7 years teaching and became an assistant principal at a high school. I went from being a 2nd grade teacher to a high school assistant principal in about 24 hours. So there was a little bit of a shock there the first time the bell rang and all the children walked around and they weren't in a line. That was a little bit of a shock. And we then moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. I was an assistant principal at a high school there. Then became an elementary school principal and worked in 3 different schools in Knox County schools. And then moved into central office where I supervise our preschool programming. So I get to spend my days with 100 preschool teachers and about 2,000 preschool children. So that's the highlight of my day. Personally, I am a proud mom, got 3 Tennessee Tech grads, and very proud of my children. And in terms of why I'd like to come to Smith County, we've been coming to Smith County for the last 10 years. We've been to football games. We've been to band competitions, color guard competitions. And I love the feel of Smith County. It reminds me of the place I grew up in. It reminds me of one of the first school districts that I taught in Georgia. It's just a small rural community that values its people and values its history. And that's what attracts me to this area. The other part of that is you have a wonderful little school system. It is a small, vibrant school system that's making great gains. You're doing great things for kids. And I would love to be a part of making even greater gains happen for those kids.
Question 2 is, what is your leadership style and what strengths do you bring to this position to lead Smith County schools successfully?
I am a very supportive and collaborative leader. It's something that that early on in my principalship relationships, I realized that teachers and families need to be heard, and they need to be valued, and they need to know that there's someone there to advocate for them. And that is what I have always done as a teacher, as a principal, and as a school district leader, is just to make sure that people are heard and that we make decisions that are best for children and families while also supporting those teachers. The one thing I used to tell my teachers when I was a principal is, I'm going to let you do your job. I'm going to get out of your way, but I'm going to support you and I'm going to hold you accountable. And I feel like in that style, it allowed teachers to grow. It allowed my schools to grow. It built that sense of autonomy with teachers, but they also knew that at the end of the day, I was there to support them and I would hold them accountable, but I would also help them if they needed it. I think I can bring that easily to Smith County. The other part of my district job has been to support principals. So I work directly with coaching principals and looking at school data and helping them make data-informed decisions to meet the needs of children. And that has been, I think, the most important job that I've had in my career, is to help those principals make those great decisions, but to be there and coach them, to be a problem solver alongside them and say, here's what we've seen. We've done visits to classrooms. Here's what we've heard. Now let's talk about what do we need to do next to meet those needs.
What would be your 3-year strategic vision for Smith County Schools? And what measurable indicators would you use to evaluate progress?
I'm just gonna write that. I'm gonna write that down.
Say that at the beginning. Anything I would.
So I think in 3 years, one of the things that we would want to make sure that we have really spent some dedicated time on is increasing those ACT scores. And those measurable parts along there are looking at what's happening in our elementary school math programming, then looking at our middle school programming. Are we using our curriculum appropriately? Are we assessing? Are we filling in gaps? How are we using our responses to intervention to help those children pass that Algebra 1 assessment? Because that's the gateway to upper level math. And then working with our high school math teachers to say, okay, these kids are ready. We've worked really hard in middle school. We've got these strong math scores, and let's look at then how do we continue to grow that accessibility to upper level math courses. And I say that because we've spent a lot of time in our district looking at those Algebra 1 scores and the impact that has on the ACT level. So I think that would be the first thing that we would really need to work on, is deciding what we can do to support that. I think the other part of that 3-year strategic plan is increasing the opportunities for career and technical aspects of students' high school careers, along with getting them college ready, because we know our students are going to go one of two ways, right? They're going to go to college, they're going to go straight in a career. So our job is to make sure that they are prepared for whatever it is they choose to do. So looking at our career technical fields and making sure we've got options that are meeting the needs of industry, but then also making sure that every child that wants to go to college can go to college. They are highly prepared and ready to be successful, because ultimately we want them to come back to Smith County, right? We want them to come and work here. And I think that would be a big piece of the 3-year strategic plan. I think the additional piece of that is looking at how are we strengthening our foundational skills in terms of math and literacy, looking at 3rd grade TCAP scores and looking to increase those proficiency rates. Your proficiency rates are pretty good, actually. They're higher than the state, but they can always be higher. And thinking about those pieces of the curriculum in our pre-K through 3rd grade classrooms, and are they preparing kids foundationally for what we need them to do once they hit upper elementary, middle, and high. I think that's a big piece of it. I think the other part of it that would be very important 3 years in is to make sure that we are holding on to our staff. Schools are hard to staff. There aren't the candidates out there. We used to get 300 applications. Now we're lucky if we get 50 or 12. And so looking at what we need to do to hold on to our staff, I think that's very important. And that comes along with high quality professional development, salaries that are competitive, and also that the teachers and our administrators have the support that they need so that they come to Smith County and they want to spend their whole career here. And I think that's very important because it is hard to find great candidates and we need to hold on to the ones that we have.
So how should a district balance preparation for post-secondary education, workforce readiness, and career technical pathways?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, ma'am. How should a district balance preparation for post-secondary education, workforce readiness, and career technical pathways?
So that preparation for post-secondary, career and technical, or workforce readiness starts the minute a kid hits the door. It starts when they walk into preschool and kindergarten. It doesn't start when they're in the 9th grade. If we wait until then, we waited too late. So I think we go back to, are we preparing kids in the preschool through 5th grade arena with high quality math instruction, high quality literacy? Are we making sure that our children have the skills that they need so that they can participate in upper level mathematics, that they can take advanced placement courses? And to that end, I think we look in terms of middle school at those really strong preps for algebra and those really strong science preps, so that once again, they get to high school and they can choose, I'm going to take an advanced placement class, I'm going to be involved in dual enrollment, or I really want to go into the career technical field. I'd love to be an electrician. I'd love to be a plumber. What do I need for that? And once again, making sure that we have created a preparation from pre-K through 8th grade. So when they hit 9th grade, they can go where they want to go. They can make that choice, but they've been well prepared. The other part of that are those partnerships. So partnerships with community colleges so that we can offer dual enrollment courses. It would be great if our high school seniors could go into college with at least part of that freshman year taken care of. It certainly would save their parents some money, and it would make that transition easier because they've had some college courses. Looking at our AP course levels in terms of, are we offering an AP English and AP History? Do we have some AP Sciences and Math? And that's really important for students who want to go into medical fields or engineering, to have those high quality AP Math and Science courses. The other part of that career technical piece is looking at industry certifications and where we can support students to get those industry certifications so that they can walk out of high school ready for apprenticeships. One of the things we've been exploring in my district is a path to get students their CDA, which is their equivalent of a child development associate credential, so that they can walk into our elementary schools as teachers assistants, and they've been highly trained. And we know that that CDA credential is something they can get in high school. And then that also helps that ETSO number because we've got more industry certifications. But I think looking at those opportunities where we can partner with industry, partner with our local businesses to get students involved early, and then turn around and work with them to get those industry credentials before they ever graduate. That would be so powerful for a student to graduate from high school and they have a high school diploma and they've got an industry credential and they graduate on May 30th and on June the 1st, they're an apprentice somewhere.
Question 5, how would you improve student performance on state assessments such as Tennessee Ready while maintaining a well-rounded educational experience?
So balance is very important. And access to arts and music and extracurricular activities are so important to help the child be well-rounded. They also support a child's engagement and involvement in school. And we've seen that over time where a lot of kids, I work with high schoolers, we have a lot of kids who came to high school because they love their art class. You know, they love their PE teacher. Their band director was the best. And that makes a huge difference in the motivation and engagement for students. And it's important that they have access to that. But the other part of that is we have to make sure that we are implementing our curriculum with fidelity and integrity. Are we following our state standards? Are we implementing the curriculum that we have? And then are we nimble enough to meet the needs of children when they struggle? So thinking about what do our interventions look like for kids that are having a hard time? And have we started those interventions early enough? We haven't waited too late. We know when kids enter school in kindergarten, the gap between being ready and not ready is about right here, right? In 8th grade, it's about right there. So thinking about how do we close those gaps that children may have very quickly in kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade. If we want to strengthen those TCAP scores, if we want kids to be proficient or above, it starts not in 3rd grade, but once again when they walk in pre-K and kindergarten. And are we making sure that our kids are ready? Are they on grade level? And that requires all of us to be very engaged in the instruction that's happening at every grade level. And one of the things that we use this instructional practice guide where we go in and look at instructional practices in classrooms. And we take lots of people with us, which is sometimes a little intimidating when 6 people walk in a teacher's classroom. But it's been a great way for us to take a temperature of where we are instructionally and then think about what we need to tweak or what kind of professional development we need. And I think those kinds of practices help us balance that instructional expectation with where our kids are, but it also helps us plan appropriately. And then we're not taking kids out of their art class in the 6th grade. We're not pulling them out of their PE class in the 7th grade for intervention because we've got them where they needed to be before they got to middle school.
Question 6 is, how visible should a superintendent be within the schools, and how would you structure ongoing engagement with students and staff?
So I'm going to say very, very visible. You should be in those buildings every day if you can. And I know there's a lot of desk work that happens. That was my realization when I moved into central office. There's a lot of desk work and a lot of phone calls. But it's very important to be there. It is important to be there to open doors in the morning and to help with bus duty. It is very important to be in classrooms. I would want to be in a classroom every day if I could. It's important to have sit-down time, one-on-ones with principals. That's something that I do in my district is at least twice a month. I have one-on-one sit-down coaching opportunities with principals. I think that's incredibly important because that helps us know what direction we need to turn, if we need to make a course correction somewhere. It also helps us identify what are the bright spots, where do we need to send somebody to see something awesome that's happening. And it's very important to be in those buildings and also accessible to community and families, so that the community gets to know me and that families know me. It's important to be at sporting events and band competitions and plays that a school is doing, a chorus concert. I think all of those things help people respect the role and respect the person because they see them as accessible. You know, it always surprises me when I go to a parent night at one of the schools that I supervise and they go, gosh, you're here. Why are you here? And so, why would I not be here? You're doing an awesome thing. So it's very important, I think, to be daily visible.
Says, how are public schools funded in Tennessee, And do you believe the community should better understand school finance? Why or why not?
Well, absolutely, the community should understand. I don't think most people understand how we are funded. I think they would be very, very surprised if they saw the TISA rate per student. Because I think people, many outside people who don't daily engage, think that school just happens. And they don't understand the funding or the lack thereof of funding. And it's very important that we advocate for better funding, fully funded schools and programming. And the way that we do that is we help our community to understand, because they're our best advocates when it comes to that. Yes, we can ask, we can beg, but to get our community involved, because I think if they understand where the funding comes from and then how the funding is distributed, then they're going to support us when we make decisions, but they're also going to help us if we need to advocate. And I say that being that I oversee a program that is completely funded through grants. Preschool programming is completely funded through grants. And if that funding went away tomorrow, a very viable and important piece of a child's instruction goes away. And when I tell someone, well, you know, our program is grant funded, they go, what? What you mean? I said, yes, if that grant goes away, we don't have preschool for 1,800 children. So I think it's very important that they understand this is grant funded money, this is federal money, this is how this federal money works, because we know that can be a scary point sometimes with how that funding is and when it comes in and how much it's going to be. So I think it's incredibly important that the community understand that. It's also important that our schools understand that. It surprises me that sometimes our teachers and our principals and our staff may not understand that funding. And so sometimes you have to make hard decisions, but if you've not been transparent with the funding, then people, they take it very personally, they get angry, and then you realize, well, maybe we should have been a little more transparent with that. Especially looking at the personnel that we fund with grant money, because we know that's soft money, right? It's not, we can't guarantee it.
What are the first three areas that you would review when assessing a school district's financial health?
So I'd look first at grant funding, once again, and how we're spending that grant funding. Are we spending it in a way that directly supports students? I think another area is looking at how are we spending this money in the daily management of the schools. So a lot of that is about the condition of the schools, the condition of all of the needs in terms of maintenance of schools. I think we need to look at that. The other part of that is we need to look at personnel in terms of how are we funding? Are we funding people who are doing the same job when one person could do that job? Or have we overextended someone and then the job's not getting done? So I think it would be very important to look at the grants, the needs of the schools in terms of maintenance and daily support. And then once again, looking, at that individual funding and looking closely at the budget in terms of have we invested it in the right things? Because in my mind, every dollar that we spend should be directly accountable to what happens with children. And if it's not, then we need to look at that.
In the event of a budget shortfall, would you be willing to make staffing cuts if necessary to meet financial obligations? Or would you try to find new revenue streams to address the gap?
I think sometimes you have to do both. and I will say I'm living that now. I'm living that now. I think you pursue those additional revenue streams, especially to support programming that makes a difference for children. But at the end of the day, if cuts have to be made, you have to do it. I've had to do that. I was the principal of a Title I school that had a tremendous budget. and of Title I that came to our Title I funding streams come directly to our schools. And there was a redo of the way the funding was assessed several years ago, looking at that free and reduced lunch. And my school lost about $150,000 in funding. That's a lot of money. And because we had hired people with those dollars, I had to let 3 people go. Those are the hardest conversations I've ever had. But we had to do it. The money wasn't there. The district didn't have the money. And so unfortunately, sometimes we have to make really hard decisions based on that money and realize that it is not personal. It is unfortunately the nature of public schooling, because we don't create money. We create great kids, but we don't create our own money. And you're held by the purse strings. And I think it's just something that when that happens, you have to make those hard decisions, but you look at impact and try to make the least impact on what happens in a school.
Question 10, where do you see the greatest opportunities for improvement in our school district?
So first of all, congratulations on being an advancing district. That's pretty awesome. I've looked at your test scores, and your test scores look pretty strong. Your graduation rate is fabulous. 96% is wonderful. I'd like for us to improve that ready grad rate a little bit. That's around an 80%, 78%. So it would be great to improve that ready grad rate, which is also looking at some of those industry certifications, participation in CTE. Are we making sure that kids have that opportunity for dual enrollment? I think that's a huge piece. That one, we make sure our kids are prepared, but 2, it also makes the school system look stronger. And once again, strong school system, strong industries, families want to move here, and you create this great cycle that then is bringing more money into the county ultimately. I think another place that we can look is around the literacy and numeracy, specifically. The growth scores in some of our schools aren't quite as high. Part of that is that they've got really high achievement, so you've got to keep pushing kids to do a little better. But I think definitely looking at that literacy and math instruction, specifically in our lower grades, and once again, those algebra scores. I think digging into that middle school math prep for algebra is going to be key.
All right. Thank you. Now we're going to do a kind of round table. Everybody's going to ask you a question. And I'm going to start with Mr. Lewis. He's behind you. He has told you.
Hey, Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, you can start and ask your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. And ma'am, thank you for being with us today. I've really enjoyed listening to you. I want to ask you, and I come from a family that has cumulatively about 130 years service in our school system. So I love your openness and that you find importance in being visible in the schools and things like that. But beyond that, as you know, what I'm probably headed to, we do have to interact with county government and things like that as well. So what importance would you place on like being visible with county commission meetings and things like that? Because we've got to have that relationship with them, obviously. So could you expand on your feelings on things like that?
Absolutely. And yes, we do, because they fund us. So we definitely need to interact well with the county commission. I think it's very important to know your county government officials. I work very closely in our district with a couple of our county commissioners, and also with the folks that oversee some of our business and industry, in terms of sharing with them the bright spots in our schools, sharing with them the needs. And so I think it's very important to interact with those people. I mean, my thought is the first week I would be on the job, I would make sure that I've met every one of those people. and that we have created a partnership, and a partnership is incredibly important with your city government because these people fund us. So we need to have a great working relationship, which I think requires transparency. But I think it also requires an openness to hear what they have to say, because they're the people that are on the front line of attracting industry and looking at community growth. And we need to make sure that we understand each other's goals so that we're working for the same thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
As director, would you allow each school's principal to hire their own staff without a lot of oversight from you, or would you be more involved in the hiring process?
I think the most important thing to do is to empower and train our administrators so that they can make those decisions. I think that's incredibly important because they intimately know the needs of their schools. But the other part of that is, have we worked with our principals in terms of great hiring practices? Do we have a set of expectations, questions, rubrics for scoring future employees so that we're making decisions based on the needs of the school, but also the needs of the district? So I would want principals to make those decisions. Now, if they had a tough position they were hiring for and they wanted me to sit in on an interview, absolutely. I do think that the superintendent should be highly involved in the hiring of principals. But I would trust them to make those decisions because we've entrusted them in that position. You're welcome.
That was sort of the question that I was going to ask, but as the school superintendent, director of schools, the opportunities I've seen, I feel like I know that we lean toward the postgraduates going to college, and that's very important. We need engineers, doctors, those people. That the blue collar aspect of this is, how do you feel that your role as would help kids that are following that career path? How would you implement anything different that you could see that would maybe help our school system in that? Like, I know we have a CTE program.
Yes. I will say, when I was an assistant principal at the high school level, it was very eye-opening for me that we were preparing part of our children, some of our children, for the world they were going into. There was a number of children we were not adequately prepared. And that's sad. You're graduating from high school, you've got a lovely diploma, and it really won't help you a whole lot. And we need to make sure that kids that aren't interested in college, not considering college, are well prepared. And that's one of the things that I've seen very strongly support CTE in the district that I work in. We have actually partnered with our business owners, and we're calling them our industry champions. And I love this idea of partnering with the folks that are doing the work, the water and sewer company, the manager of the Walmart, the large industry, the zinc mine, all of those things, that we have partnered with those folks so that we know what they expect in a graduate. And that's incredibly important because we can teach them to read, we can help them do their math, but we need to know, what is it that you are looking for? And is it that we need to make sure that they've had a strong math background, that they've had a strong reading background? I had an aha moment years ago. I was working with ninth grade, and we had given a reading assessment to our ninth grade. And most of the students in ninth grade didn't read on grade level. So we were working on that, and they said, well, let's filter these kids toward career tech. They're not going to go to college. So not a problem. So my boys are car nuts. They love cars. I went home and grabbed a Chilton's auto manual, ran it through our database. The readability level of a Chilton's manual is a 1400. The readability of an AP English class is about 1200. So we were expecting students to go into highly technical fields, but we were under preparing them in terms of what they needed for literacy and math. And I think it's really important that we focus on making sure that our kids are ready. And that's one of the things that we can do. The other part is partnering with those industries and looking at those industry certifications. I think that to me is one of the most important pieces in that CTE world, is looking at, okay, you are going into automotive and light engine repair. What's the CTE certification that you need? Do you need that there's an automotive certification that we can get you? And how have we prepared you and how have we supported you? Did we partner with someone to give you some co-op experience? I think that's very important, those early experiences as 8th and 9th graders, to see what's out there because they don't know. And then helping those students as they go forward. Looking at, there's an 8th grade interest inventory that we give to students to help them think about what careers they might be interested in. And then school counselors, who are the key to this. School counselors are the key. And helping students decide which path they want to go, and then making sure that we've got all the pieces in place that make it easy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm just gonna stay with the same question that I have. It's not really a follow-up, but we adopted the 81 Act. I just wanna know, how do you build a working relationship with the mayor and the county commissions that cooperate but preserves the school system's independence and mission?
So once again, that's transparency. I think it is that there's an open line of communication in terms of spending time together to understand each other's expectations. At the end of the day, we are the decision makers for the school system. And that's important for the mayor to understand, county commission to understand. But the other part of that is we also need to show them the fruits of their labor. Once again, okay, you give us this amount of money. This is how we're spending it, and we're spending it wisely, and we have these results. And I think when you've started that relationship, that then helps them, because then if you have to go, we really need a little more money, then we can say, but look what we've done with what you've given us, and this is how we can continue because we have these results. But the very important piece is to have that good working relationship. I, in my role, actually work very closely with the mayor's office. There's a couple of folks that we work very closely to look at child care initiatives in our district. And so I've worked very closely with them, and I think it's that they see me as a working partner. And then in the end, we have the same goal, which is we want a better community for our children and our families. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And so I just think it's very important to be transparent, but also to be willing to listen to one another. I've seen what happens when there's an adversarial relationship with a mayor and a school superintendent, and it doesn't work. And at the end, it's the detriment of the school system. So I think it's just very important to be open and willing to listen. But at the end of the day, you're the fierce protector of the school system.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Lackey, for many years, the National Education Association and many institutions of higher learning have promoted an agenda that undercuts our nation's traditional American values, such as patriotism and others. What actions will you take to protect the traditional and conservative values that are held by our community and its families?
It's very important to listen to families. It's very important to make sure that we are following the curriculum. We see problems when people delve away from expectations in the curriculum and in our standards. But at the end of the day, we're responsible for what our children learn, not an outside organization. They don't dictate to us what to do. We need to do the best for our children and families. And in that right, I'm not afraid to stand up if I need to and say, we're not going to do that. And I've had to do that. We're going to follow the Tennessee Code annotated. That's the law. It tells us what to do, and that's our governing body, and that's our support in those situations when things have gone a little awry. And it's very important that we consider the needs of our community, because we know what our families expect and we know what our families need. And in the end, like I said, we follow the law, and we're not afraid to say, we're not going to do that here. You're welcome.
I'm actually going to have two questions.
Okay.
Because, my question is, you said you had 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee Tech graduates.
Yes.
Sons, Tech graduates. So, homeschool, private school, public school educated.
All public school educated.
Now, question, and I promise Mr. Joe Cotter, I told y'all the reason he wasn't here. He had this specific question for you, and he asked me to ask you. So I'm going to ask you, and don't be real long-winded. But
Okay,
I don't know where this is fixing to lead, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay, bring it on. I'm ready.
He must know something I don't know. You have a doctorate.
Yes.
What you write about and why?
So I looked at, and yes, I will not read the whole dissertation to you. I looked at principal behaviors in rural schools and how teachers view their principal in terms of the impact on school culture. And it was very interesting because I did the work in rural schools in East Tennessee, and I surveyed about 150 teachers, and 145 of them identified their principal as supportive. And that says something right there. There were also schools with low turnovers, long-term principals in very small rural East Tennessee communities. And that spoke to me about the beauty of a rural school system, in that you have something here that not a lot of places have. You know, you've got people who are dedicated. You've got families who have been in education for years, and their grandmothers and their grandfathers and their great-grandmothers. And so it's just, it spoke to me about the importance of what happens in a rural school system, and the importance of preserving that culture and that climate of those schools.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, we're done, and thank you. And,
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, I did tell her.
Yes.
Oh, you already did? Yeah, I did. The next meeting will be, if you've chosen, will be March the 16th.
Wonderful. Well, it was an honor to speak to you and to meet all of you, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're free to leave.
Okay.
Just make sure you get your cell phone if you didn't.
Yes, okay. There you go. Thank you so much. It was great to meet you. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay too.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay.
You're welcome to stay.
Thank you.
Totally up to you.
Okay, thank you so much. It was great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you. Don't you ever. It is okay. Okay, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
We ready for the next one?
Yep, yep.
Dr. Ash.
I'm sorry. Wait.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not there. You must be there.
He said that to me.
Thank you, done a fine job.
Oh, appreciate it. I don't know how you did that still. Good help me on my street.
Well, good job.
There's plenty of it at work.
Y'all want some water or snack out here or something, banana, or throw meat or something?
Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, come on right there. Just go along. You need water and stuff? Sorry about that. That'd be fine. Yeah, we'll be holding when we all get back in here.
I can do it, Stefan. Whatever you need me to do.
This is less for this room. It's more about our recording. Yeah, I'll be able to one side. No, good, I'm glad you did it.
That's my morning.
I can ask another anyway.
That's not.
We get over there.
You can pay me now.
Huh?
You can pay me. I'm gonna get over
Are you
there.
sure we get?
Yeah.
Like a regular.
Something for hours, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they would make a motion.
I told the guy they there at lunch that thing.
Anybody else want any water or anything? We got plenty out there. Snack, you're hungry. So far, we didn't get any trouble. We're gonna go ahead, speed up time. So far, we legally haven't gotten in trouble, so no longer we got to be. I think I already told you, Mr. Ash, the board's decided that we would have our meeting on March the 9th, Monday night, to choose 3 candidates. We're gonna do the, interviewing process on Monday, March the 16th. Be like 5 o'clock for our final 3. And then on March the 17th, we're gonna hire a director of school, retreat the school board meeting the next day. So that keeps us all in line, kind of shifts y'all just a little bit, and keeps us in line where we want to be, trying to get a director. And, we've had Mr. Hesson. He's done an excellent job reading our 10 questions, and we're going to stay with him. And he'll go through the questions, and we'll get done. At the end, we're going to run the 6 outs, and we'll have a follow-up question. Okay?
All right, on behalf of the board, we would like to welcome you and thank you for coming. If you need me to repeat anything, I didn't have to say this at the beginning, but if you need me to repeat anything, I will. So, question 1 is, tell us a little about yourself and why you want to be our next director of school.
Well, I grew up here. I graduated from McKinney High School, and I've had a long educational career. I've been successful everywhere I've been. I've opened 2 schools, a rural middle school and a academic magnet school, and both schools were very successful. But Smith County was very special to me growing up. It has given me a great foundation for my life. And now I'm toward the end of my career, and I'd like to give back. I feel like I have a lot to offer the students of Smith County. I still have numerous great nieces and great nephews that go to school here, along with people that I graduated with and went to school with. Their children are here. I have ties to every school in the county in some form or fashion. I attended Pleasant Shade, which is of course no longer here, but in Forks River, and then I went to Smith County. My father graduated from Warrensville High School. I was principal at several schools in Smith County. So I feel like I have a lot to offer, and I want to give back to the people. We are moving here. They are digging my footers next week for my house. So once again, no matter what happens with this job, I will be your neighbor in the near future. So I do want to help the kids of Smith County be better.
Question 2 is, what is your leadership style and what strengths do you bring to this position to lead Smith County schools successfully?
I do think my varied background is my greatest strength. I have taught I taught Smith County 1 year, but Brentwood and Laverne, which are polar opposites of schools, have been an administrator at Laverne High School. I opened Christian Middle, which at that time was a rural school. There's not much rural left in Rutherford County, but at that time it was. And now I've been at Central. So I think my diverse background gives me a lot. I've taught AP classes as well as standard classes. I coached football, basketball, baseball, and track at different times in my career. So I have a great understanding of every aspect of education. I've served on numerous committees. I've lobbied in Washington. I have lobbied in Nashville. I have helped spend millions of dollars on school management systems and technology in Rutherford County. So I do have a very diverse background, which is one of my greatest strengths. Is I have done everything and seen everything. What was the first part of the question?
What is your leadership style and what strengths do you bring to this position?
I'm a big believer in situational leadership. My style changes as the need arises. Sometimes decisions have to be made instantly, safety and things like that, and I have no problem making those decisions. At other times, you can have time to get input from all stakeholders, and that's a better way to do things. At times, it's impossible, but I do like to have as much input as possible. Most decisions in schools affect numerous people, and you should have their input from the people affected. So I do believe in getting as much input as possible, but at different times, I'm willing to make whatever decision is necessary.
Question 3 is, what would be your 3-year strategic vision for Smith County Schools, and what measurable indicators would you use to evaluate progress?
Well, the first thing you would want to do is evaluate everything. I have not been here before, obviously. So, I would want to evaluate each department, each area, the central office personnel, do a deep dive into the school system as far as staffing at schools, what's appropriate. But I would think in 3 years, you would want to develop programs to improve offerings for your high achieving kids as well as your other students. Look at your ACT plan. Try to improve the ACT as much as possible. It opens doors for students, and I do think Smith County's can grow quite a bit. But you seem to be in good shape as far as buildings. Your buildings are actually very nice considering I went to school in most of them. They've been really well maintained over the years and expanded. But it is surprising sometimes that, Forks River, Union Heights, all those are, yes, from the late 50s. But I do think you should look. There should be plans for the spending the money, make sure it's as efficiently spent as possible. Money's not the answer to everything, but it is the answer to some things. So I do think you need to evaluate that and see where we can save. Where if we are getting our bang for our buck, it's very important. It's not our money, it's not the commission's money, it's the people's money. And we need to make sure that we're getting every dime out of it we possibly can. But and a 3-year plan, that is something that should be developed with, of course, the board, the principals, the teachers, and the parents. And we need to develop that. I don't have detailed plan at this moment because I don't have the input. That's one of those decisions that does require quite a bit of input.
How should a district balance preparation for post-secondary education, workforce readiness, and career technical pathways?
I think the secret to education is easy. It's focusing on each child. It doesn't matter whether you have 3,000 children or 52,000 children. You've got to do what's best for each child. Each child needs to be pushed. You need to get the most out of every child. That's one of the things we do at my school. We work very hard in everything we do to get the most out of a child. You need to make sure your CTE offerings are updated in what's needed. I see sometimes CTE offerings aren't what the community needs. You need to work closely with the business leaders in town to make sure that the workforce, that our kids are workforce ready, that they have the skills that are needed. And a lot of skills are transferable whether you're going to college or whether you're going to work. Punctuality, being on time, work ethic, being thorough, being organized. Schools can help with all, they call them soft skills, but I don't really like that term because I think they're too important for that. Whatever you plan to do after high school, those skills, we should work on those skills. And there's many ways to accomplish that. But, I do think your secondary, post-secondary program, you need to make sure there are course offerings for the kids. You do need to improve your ACT. It opens scholarships and also opportunities, but it's not mutually exclusive. When you improve the preparation for the ACT, it also improves the kids' reading skills. It improves the child going to work in a factory. They're going to be able to get promoted a lot easier because they do have those skills. They're going to be better workers. Part of the people paying taxes in this county are the people that own the companies and things like that. And we want to make sure we're giving them the best worker they possibly can. Or that child that wants to be a doctor or a dentist, we want to make sure they have the skills they need to go to UT or Tennessee Tech or Harvard for that matter, and be successful wherever they go.
Question 5, how would you improve student performance on state assessments such as Tennessee rating while maintaining a well-rounded educational experience?
Well, I do think sometimes in Tennessee we get so focused on the test that we forget other things. But it's really important. Of course, both schools where I have been principal, we've done excellent. should be expected at my current school. But at Christiana, we were in the top 10 in the state most years in every area given on TCAP. We focus on the standards. We focus on what is not teaching to the test, but if what's on the test is what an average third grader should know, then there's nothing wrong with teaching that material. You do benchmark testing along the way. You measure the progress during the year and you make adjustments as needed. You give the teachers the training that they need to be successful on these tests. It's very important, that you respect the job your teachers do. Everything in a school goes back to the teacher. If a school system's successful, it's the teacher. If they're not, it's the teacher. And sometimes I think we forget just how important they are. But giving them the skills they need to teach for the TCAP, for the test, is extremely important. And, I do think, once again, paying attention to it, what you pay attention to is what's important. And so I do think benchmark testing would help a great deal. I think doing some PLCs, professional learning communities. A lot of the schools in Smith County have what's called singletons. There'll be Fort River, I think, has one third grade teacher, one fourth grade teacher, that sort of thing. Through the use of technology, they can work with other teachers on their, and have some support from within. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to bring people in. There's some great teachers in this county, and we should capitalize on their skills. But without spending an extra penny, you can have a teacher in Defeated meeting with the teacher at Fort River to discuss curriculum. There's a lot of things you can do with what's already in place here, and it is capitalizing on the teachers that are already here.
So how visible should a superintendent be within the school, and how would you structure ongoing engagement with students and staff?
Well, one of the things I think could help, first of all, I think a superintendent has got to be a part of the community, not just visible in the schools, but I think a superintendent should be at the T-ball games. There's obvious things here. I would expect your superintendent to spend at every Carthage and Lawrenceville game in history. There are certain things that are obvious, but I also think the music night at Union Heights, the superintendent should attend, things like that. So I follow several of the schools on Facebook, and when the kids win awards, it should be a superintendent standing there handing them the award. I think there's no limit to the visibility a superintendent can do. I spend a lot of time at school. We attend, band, choir, strings, basketball, baseball, drama. I'm at school all the time, and I enjoy it. I'm lucky enough to be married to someone that thinks date night involves going to school, but I don't see that changing. I really do think you can't be visible enough in the schools. And, I think that superintendent gives it confidence. I can remember as a child sitting at Fort River and the superintendent eating lunch with us. It was a big deal. I also think that's helped build community support. When that kindergarten child goes home and tells mama that our superintendent was at school today, that builds the support. When they see you at basketball, if I'm watching a basketball game, honestly, I'd rather not discuss the problems of the world. I'd rather watch a basketball game. But I'm available to discuss them or set up a time to do it. There's also some other things. A teacher advisory committee. You pick a teacher at every school. You meet with them once a month, once every 6 weeks, and you get input from them. It's a formal setting, but it's a comfortable setting where they feel comfortable asking questions, you get information, they get information. The worst thing in the world is for a teacher to be sitting there with a question and not being able to get an answer to it. In the philosophy, if you email me and I don't email you back, I die. So, I do get back to people, and usually instantly, as quickly as possible. I don't do it driving on the road, But, as quick as I can, I get back to people when they contact me. But I certainly get back to teachers as soon as possible. But the more I'm around the teachers, the more they feel comfortable asking me those questions. I don't want to feel like I'm part. I've always felt like people work with me, not for me. I have 120 people at Central that I guess I'm their direct boss. But we work together. We're part of a family. And, I'm in charge. That's never a question. But I don't have to make them feel that way. We work together for the kids.
Seven says, how are public schools funded in Tennessee, and do you believe the community should better understand school finance? Why or why not?
Well, I think everyone should spend a lot of time learning on finance. Again, as I said earlier, it's not our money. It's not the commission's money. It's the people's money. And they should understand. They should also understand, about credit cards and loans too. But hopefully we'll do a better job teaching them. But we are funded through property tax and sales tax for the most part. There's also some federal dollars that come in, principally school trainings, Title II, Title I schools when you have a high poverty rate. Special ed, a lot of money is funneled through for special education, and the Perkins Act gives money to CTE, or additional funds to CTE. But I think the more information the public has on how we spend their money, the more comfortable they are with how we spend their money. I think transparency is extremely important. The commission has a very tough job. We get to spend money, they get to ask for it. So, that's a difficult job. It's easier to sell, put a product out there than it is just ask to give us money. We have to remember that, there are political constraints in that as well. We have to respect the fact that if there's a tax increase, they got to run on it. They've got to, they are responsible for that. So we do need to spend the money and explain it better. Sometimes we spend so much time asking for things and talking about the what. We don't talk about the why. We are the experts on education. Other people don't have the background. We need to take the time to explain why we want to do things a certain way, how we came to that decision. And I think that helps the comfort level of people and the commission. As I said earlier, money's not always the first answer to everything. Sometimes it is the final answer. But if we're creative and we try everything we possibly can, and we develop that relationship where they trust us. Trust is not given, it's earned. And with any relationship, openness and honesty is the way you develop that trust. But I do think we have to educate the public, the commission, everyone involved in the school finance, in why we want to do things. We can ask for any amount of money, but we got to explain why and how we came to that conclusion. I think when you explain that, there were 4 solutions to this problem, we looked at all of them. This is the one that works best, and this is why. It's easier to get people's support on that thing. I mean, you have to have the people's support schools. No, the people are vital. I've been lucky to be in 2 schools where we had great parental involvement. We cannot be a successful school system without parental involvement. And you can't just say that. I was on the SATS committee one time evaluating school in Nashville, and every meeting I had, their answer was, if we had more parental involvement, we'd be better. Well, fine. I said, well, what do you want them to do? You've got to welcome the parents into the school. You've got to want their involvement. You can't look at it as, oh, it's a problem. They're here again. They know what's best for their child. And we can cut down some work for us by listening to them and knowing what's best for their child up front. But I think there's ways to make it a lot more open than we have it at the moment. Once again, use of technology. If you look at my school's website, you will actually see vital information on their web pages. You can see what they did in class today. You can see what their homework is. You can see links to support for them. Every child in this county can use a computer. Every child in America can use a computer. Poor, rich, it doesn't matter. It's here. We've got to take advantage of those resources. And it's not extra work on people. It's not more money. It's not anything. It's using the resources we have at the moment to do that. And that's one of the best ways to educate these parents and to show them why we're doing the things we're doing. But yes, I do think it's vital to educate everyone involved, commission, school, parents, everyone.
What are the first 3 areas you would review when assessing a school district's financial health?
Well, I mean, I'd first look at staffing. The greatest expense in any school district is people. Anywhere, private, public, it doesn't matter. People are your largest line item. And some of that is automatic. At an elementary school, if you have 20 kindergarten students, you have 1 kindergarten teacher. You have 21 kindergarten students, you have 2 kindergarten teachers. So some of that is strictly numbers based on state law. But you've got to evaluate and see, let's see, extra positions might be a good term. Make sure you don't have extra positions. But people, I don't know what everyone in central office does. I want to meet with them and have them explain to me what their position is, what they do on a normal day. Some of those may be able to be combined. Even some positions might be able to be eliminated or restructured so that they're more efficient. You definitely want efficiency in every aspect of school, but that's one thing people don't seem to understand. When you talk about cutting a budget or doing something with a budget, it's going to affect someone directly because people are about the only thing you have control over. Buses are normally the second largest expenditure in the county or in the district. So, I want to make sure we are very efficient in how our buses run. If there's any tinkering can be done with that. 1 bus route is a huge amount of money. You wouldn't want to add one or, keep what we have if it's not right. But that's usually your second largest expenditure. Then there's other ways. I'm not a believer in a little bit of savings. It's not a good thing. Congressman once said $1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. Well, every little bit of money adds up. Make sure you're efficient in your utilities. Make sure, we're not wasting electricity at schools. We're not, wasting water. We're not wasting anything. We can't afford to waste anything. It's money's too important and too tight. We want to make sure that our teachers have what they need, and that we have the money to supply that. But I think that's every aspect of the budget. The tax rate's fixed by someone else. The amount coming in is pretty much someone else's decision. But we've got to make sure that we are extremely efficient with what we get, and that it is going the best. There's not enough. Every teacher, if teachers made triple what they make today, it wouldn't be enough. There's no way to pay a teacher what they deserve. We have to be realistic. We're probably not going to be able to triple a teacher's pay. We probably have a lot more choices to choose from if we could, but I don't think that's feasible. But we do need to make sure that every penny we do spend is getting the most out of it. But and I do think once again on our teachers, making them feel respected. I may not be able to triple their pay, but I can make them feel appreciated and respected. As long as the teacher doesn't do something illegal, immoral, or any other word, I'm going to have their back. I'm going to make them feel appreciated in that way. sometimes we assume the teacher's wrong as a starting point in the discussion, and we can't do that. We have professionals in this county, and we need to treat them like professionals. We need to provide quality training for them so that they feel like they're not wasting their time in their training. And once again, some little things make a big difference. But anyway.
In the event of a budget shortfall, would you be willing to make staffing cuts if necessary to meet financial obligations? Or would you try to find new revenue streams to address the gap?
Well, I mean, you would probably want to try to do a combination of those things. I mean, if you have as much money, I've had a family for a long time, and we have to make hard decisions every year. It's gotten easier since kids have moved on, but so we have more money now. But there are tough decisions. I have to make tough decisions in my school. We spend, well, at the school level, we spend a couple $1 million a year. And I have to decide, sounds like a huge amount of money until we spend $180,000 on AP testing. It disappears quickly. It sounds like a lot of money until you start spending it. So I have no trouble making hard decisions. I've had to cut programs, fire teachers, fire coaches. Firing a coach is challenging, but it's got to be done at times. And I have no problem doing that. But I think anything you do, if there's a combination of things you can do, it's better. No, I don't like to cut people's jobs. I mean, that's the worst thing in the world. The worst day of my year probably is when I have to tell non-tenured teachers they're not coming back. It's horrible. And I dread it for weeks. But everything I do is what's best for the child. Every single decision I make is what's best for the students. And sometimes I have to do things I don't want to do, but if it's best for the students, I'm going to do that. And that's important to remember about me. I am going to do what's best for the students every single time. And if that makes someone mad, I can live with that. I've had 5,000 people stand up and cuss me in front of my family. I coached. So, I don't mind doing things that aren't popular.
All right, last question, number 10. Where do you see the greatest opportunities for improvement in our school district?
I think it's in pretty good shape at the moment, but I'd like to see the value added improved. Value added is a very fair thing that Tennessee was one of the first in the country to do. Whether you have the highest achieving kids or the lowest achieving kids, they all can grow. And once you go back to each child, we need to make sure each child is growing as much as possible. If your Tennessee value added is not good, your children aren't growing. That's the other thing I try to enforce to teachers, principals, and everything. It's a numbers thing. It's math. Can't argue with math. It's not personal. It's not anything. It's math. Value added is math. If you've got a high value added, your teacher's being effective. If you have low value added, they're not. And once again, that's not personal. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean I don't like you when we go to lunch with you. But it does mean your kids did not benefit as much as possible from that year. So I do think several schools' value added could be looked at, and we need to first determine what the weakness is and then find out a way to address that weakness. But I do think evaluating the facilities, I've not stepped foot in a lot of them in a long time. I want to personally evaluate the facilities with your personal maintenance, make sure that we're getting our bang for our buck there. But I do think your high achieving kids, more opportunities for them. There's AP Access for All. I hope you're taking advantage of that, which is a state program where children can take AP classes online. The schools here aren't really large enough to have a huge AP offering. It gets very expensive when you have a teacher for 3 or 4 kids. But with AP Access for All, you can increase the offerings for the children that need it. We want to make sure, everything comes back to safety too. You've got to make sure that at all times, every school is as safe as humanly possible. We live in a strange time, but I would want to evaluate everything we're doing on safety, make sure it's up and great. I do think though, your high achieving kids could be served a little better. ACT could improve. Once again, course offerings. Want to evaluate CTE programs, make sure they are turning out. Kids today are probably going to earn a living in a job that doesn't exist yet. And we have to be able to give them the skills that are transferable to every job. And we need to make sure that they think critically, that they think well, that they read for comprehension. We've got to instill that in them so that they have whatever they end up doing. Who would have thought web designer was a job when I was sitting in Smith County High School, wondering what I was doing there. Web designer, there was no web. I'm old. There was, I couldn't even dream of that. I couldn't dream of playing for the Cubs or something, but didn't have the skills to do that. But no, we do need to look if we are given the skills. We need to make sure the foundation. Whether you're building my house or a child, it's the foundation where you start. We need to make sure we have quality reading programs in the K-3. When a child gets out of 3rd grade, if they don't have great reading skills, we have a problem. They have a problem for the rest of their lives. We have a problem trying to educate them. It's hard to teach U.S. history if a child can't read. It's hard to teach chemistry if a child can't read. Everything goes back to being able to read well. And we've got to make sure in those lower grades that reading is emphasized and focused, and they have what they need. Once again, very few teachers don't want to do their best every day. We want to make sure they have everything they need to do their best. So that would be main focuses, I suppose. But once again, I think Smith County's in good shape, but it can be in great shape. We aren't happy with good. There's a book called Good to Great, and the enemy of great is good. And I think sometimes we get too focused on the fact that we're good. Well, I don't want to be good. I don't want to be around people that want to be good. And if you don't want to be great, don't really want to be around you. It's just the philosophy, I guess. But
now that's got our 10 questions to ask. Now, guys, we're going to go around the room here and ask our personal questions. And we'll start with Mr. Lewis, who's on the television screen. He's going to start us off this question.
Mr. Ash, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. I remember your father very well at Fort Stewart School, as a matter of fact. I think my grandfather actually hired your father.
Yeah.
I do have just a couple of questions for you. I have one, but I wanted to hear you kind of follow up. You were asked a question about finances, and you talked a lot about not having any difficulty cutting, but you didn't really address, would you seek out different revenues? What would be your thought process along that, just kind of briefly?
Well, of course, the public is limited a little bit on revenue streams. And I don't know what advantage y'all are taking on grants and things like that. We do quite a bit of grants. We funded things like LED lighting for every Rutherford County school is going to LED lighting, and most of it's paid for by a federal grant. There are a lot of opportunities. There are organizations like Niswanger out of East Tennessee. Can't say that. But you can get grants from him to do anything from build a band room to major money coming out of this one. But there are several organizations like that want to help. Gates Foundation that want to help school systems be better. And I do think someone should focus on grants, it's probably somebody who's already got another job, that's gonna get an additional one. But, I do think there are other revenue streams that can be tapped into. You know, you don't wanna, once again, most of it comes from the state or taxpayers. Well, I guess it all comes from taxpayers, and the state money comes from taxpayers. But, you know, any other source does help that. But, there are many opportunities to increase the revenue stream or diversify the revenue stream.
And thank you, sir. And my final question, this one is kind of more important to me, I guess. Well, not necessarily more important, but I think it is significant. Along those same lines, can you explain like your feelings towards transparency, working with county commissioners and things like that? You know, how would you feel towards those things? We place a lot of importance on that.
Well, once again, it's not my money. I believe in being open about everything. If you walk into, I have parents come in and want to see how we're spending baseball money at Central. It's their right to know, for one thing. We are a public entity. We are, you know, in Tennessee is one of the few states that has almost complete open records. It's their right. And, you know, I will tell you the truth no matter what. If you don't want to hear something, don't ask me the question, because I'm going to tell you what I think and what I know to be true on anything. Everything I do is an open book. I don't hide anything. I do that now, and that will not be changing. I am what I am. You know, I am who I am. And if I do something, I did it for what I thought was best for the students. I should be able to explain that. You know, why did I do it if I can't explain it? So no, I'm completely transparent in everything I do. You know, I'm not going to talk about someone else behind their back. I'm not going to, you know, if I do have to dismiss someone, there may be issues on that I can't really talk about. I'm not going to embarrass someone or go into things that I shouldn't, but anything I do or I'm part of is open. So I completely believe in transparency.
Thank you, Mr. Ash. We certainly appreciate you being with us. Thank you, sir.
I've got a statement and I've got a question. I just want you to sort of be aware of what we're facing possibly. In 2024, our general fund had almost 11.5 million. 25, we went to 86. Well, this year, possibly, we're going to be around 5 projected. So that would be something a new person would have to deal with, of course. My question is, if elected, we chose to hire you as our director, how long did you see yourself being the director of Smith County Schools?
Well, I mean, as long as I'm healthy, I don't think I'm ready to sit and watch TV yet. I do have a few hobbies. I like to fish, but I don't know that I can do it every day. Golf is too frustrating for me. So I don't know. I've 10 years. I mean, you can't give me but a 4-year contract by state law, but I will certainly live up to my word if I tell you something. And once again, unless something dramatically changes, I would always live up to my word.
Some people sometimes have plans when they want to retire. So.
Oh, well, I mean, I have plans, yes, but I don't think I'll ever get to it. But no, I do someday like to retire, but I'm not ready for it yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Ash, I got a couple of quick questions that should be quick answers. What year did you graduate?
High school?
Yes, sir.
1984.
From?
Smith County High School. My father graduated in 1944 from Gornsville High School.
All right. So I heard you through the conversation, the questions. You sound like you're a disciplinarian. I don't know you first time I ever laid eyes on you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your disciplinary actions toward a teacher first, and then the second would be toward a student?
Well, I'm a big believer, I don't have to prove I'm in charge because I am in charge. I think sometimes people get in trouble going around proving they're in charge. My teachers do what I ask them to do. I think I have that trust with them. I have had to discipline teachers at different times for things. Thankfully, nothing illegal, but we have had to deal with some things. I expect people to do what I ask them to do. I expect children to do what I ask them to do. I'm in Walmart. I expect children to ask them to do what I do. But I guess I'm pretty strict. I'm sorry. I guess I'm pretty strict.
Okay.
But it doesn't. I hate to say this, but I'm lucky right now. I'm in a school that's a choice school. The children don't have to be there. They can go back to their zone school, which makes it a lot easier on us. I realize that up front. But at Christian Middle, we had a great school that ran very well. Teachers, once again, did what we asked them to do. Our kids did what we asked them to do. I mean, I don't completely understand not expecting a child to do
One more
what we should
question.
do.
You said you like to be very visible at all functions. This is, I'm putting you a hypothetical question. You're at a sporting event at Gornersville in Carthage. It don't matter what that sport is. A coach, we tend to put coaches without being critical, but we do put them on a pedestal. If they're winning, we want to keep them. If they're not winning, I know you know this area as good as being in a small community. But if you was at a game and a coach was acting out of place that you would feel out of place, would you approach the principal about this, to approach the coach, or you have a policy you'd like to see coach back at your office at another time and talk about, because kids, they're begging for discipline. I'm going into a longer thing than I should, but there's a fine line between discipline and cruelty.
Yes.
Cruelty. So I think for our students, we need to protect them from that kind of language, cruelty, whatever it is. So it'd be hard to politically correct a teacher or a coach if they're doing a good job, but I'm going back to this, if they're abusing a student in a verbal way. Where do you see something like that if you was a director?
First of all, I would rather deal with the principal and let him deal with the coach, because the coach works directly for the principal. I mean, everyone in the county would work for me, but I'm a big believer in chain of command as well. If it was at that moment, if it was something beyond the pale, I mean, if it was something severe, we would deal with it right that second. But most things I would rather deal with in my office. When I meet with a parent and a teacher, I'm going to support that teacher completely. When the door shuts, I may have to tell the teacher, hey, that's not the way I would want to do that. We can't do that anymore, or maybe even a little stronger than that. Okay. But that's in a perfect world. Coaches mean a lot to kids.
Right.
I was lucky. I played for some great people. I played baseball for Bill Landry. I tell people, my children who never got to meet him benefit from my interactions with him. He made a difference in my life. And then I won't say who, but I played for some coaches that made a difference in my life.
Right.
But it wasn't positive. So coaches, we remember our teachers, but we remember our coaches even more. I coach football and other sports, but I think I probably got closer to my players coaching than I did teaching them chemistry. I hope I made a difference in their life in chemistry too, but I know I made a difference in coaching. Right. And so we do have higher expectations for our coaches. We do put them on a pedestal, but when you're up here, people expect more of you. Right. And if they can't do that, winning is not the ultimate judge of a coach. fire a state championship coach if they're not doing what's best for kids. That's, if they're cheating, we don't want that around our children. And so they have to go. And parents would be mad, they get over it. I've come to a firm conclusion. When we first opened, I had one of the worst coaches I've ever been around in my life. Not for treating kids badly, just horrible. I had to fire her. I still had parents mad over that. Everyone who watched the game knew that coach didn't need to be there. And believe it or not, it's not hard to get. It's sort of hard to get coaches that won't coach really smart kids. But I still had parents come in and complain that I had gotten rid of this coach, and it shocked me, to be honest, that anybody didn't agree. But we had to do it. We had to do what was best for the students. But yes, I agree completely with you. Coaches, it's different now. I hate to sound like that old person. When I was growing up, coaches said things to us that probably would get put in jail today. I'm sure Miss Moore can speak to that. Maybe being treated unfairly by people.
Or cruelly.
She probably still can run lines. But anyway, but no, I firmly believe. But yes, I'd rather the principal deal with it. And if a principal consistently can't deal with that, it may not just be the coach that needs to be replaced.
So nothing stop with you.
Oh, well, everything. If anything goes wrong at Central, it's me.
Okay.
If I wasn't at the archery competition or whatever, and something goes wrong, it's still me.
Okay.
I take responsibility for everything.
Okay.
That's the job. I mean, that's when I coached. If we weren't, something went wrong, it still was me. I was the head coach. So.
Thank you for your answer.
The question I have is, since we adopted the 81 Act, so how do you build working relationship with our county mayor and our county commissioners that is cooperative, but preserves the school system's independence and mission?
Okay. Well, first, I'd want to get to know the commissioners a little bit more. I'd like to meet with them personally, one at a time, obviously. I'm not sure it'd be legal to do more than that, but one at a time. I'd like to know their philosophies and why they wanted to be a commissioner. I'd like to meet with each board member and find out why you want to be on the board, what your focus is, what your expectations are for the school system. But I also think, once again, being open and honest with them develops that trust. But in the end, I'm going to do what's right for the kids every single time. And if that makes you mad, that's going to make you mad. That's going to make commissioners mad. That's going to make the commissioners mad. But our students are too important. But I do think over time, they're going to see, I don't know the county mayor, but, I'd like to meet with him and find out what he thinks and get his input, that sort of thing. They're taxpayers like everyone else. We need their input on how to do things. But we've got to do what's right for kids, and we are the experts on that subject. I've got 4 college degrees, 3 of them in administration supervision, and 1 of them in teaching chemistry. But I am the expert. I got 36 years in education. I've been a principal for 23 years. That's a lot of kids. So, I know what I'm doing. And, they've got to respect that too. I'm a big believer in respecting other people, but I expect them to respect me as well.
Thank you.
Dr. Ash, you touched on this a lot in some of your other questions. Over the past many years, the National Education Association and many institutions of higher learning have adopted and promoted an agenda that undercuts our nation's traditional American values, such as patriotism and lots of others. What actions will you take to protect the traditional and conservative values of our community and its families?
Well, once again, always got to follow state laws on everything. But, I don't even really know how to answer that. I would be,
You already have answered in a lot of, you're gonna do the right thing.
yes, sir.
I wanna know what the right thing is. You're from Smith County, you know what our values
Yes.
are.
Well, I mean, part of what's important is, demonstrating what the right thing is. You know, I would rather have a teacher that lives morally than teaches morals. Kids learn by seeing us. Teachers learn by seeing me. You know, and it's the little things to the big things. If I'm standing during the Pledge of Allegiance appropriately, they're going to do that. They see it's important. They, you know, there's also things, sometimes we cave a little bit too quickly to pressure from outside groups or from internally. You know, board sets policy. So, you know, as long as y'all set the policy, we will enforce the policy y'all set. So, I mean, that's not a problem. I've never had, you know, anybody question that. We, of course, being in Murfreesboro, we have a little different community than in Smith County, but we still support, you know, how I grew up. Some of the things can't be done when I was a child, but no, I don't. I guess I don't fully understand the other side, to be honest. We will do what's best for every child every single time. You know, I don't want any child to feel that we're not their advocate and that we don't care about them. But I'm not real sure y'all have a huge problem up here with that, do you?
How about curriculum? You know, a lot of times they just infiltrate the curriculum a little at a time, just a little here, a little there.
Well, your curriculum is set by the state. As long as you teach what's in the state curriculum, legally, you're okay. I don't know that you can be more conservative than our legislature is at the current moment. But the other thing I would encourage is when they're doing the curriculum, they beg for parents, board members, teachers to be on the committees that help set the curriculum. I mean, literally, they beg. They keep getting enough people that want to do it. Everybody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to give you time to do it. I would encourage the people up here to volunteer for those committees. You just sign up online. We just did, I can't remember what subspace, you know, last year. They will do another one this year. And, you know, that's how you influence the curriculum, to be honest. I don't think anything is in the official curriculum that would be a problem. I don't know how it can get through our state legislature. Our state legislature is extremely conservative at the moment. But anyway, but no, we work very hard to have our teachers teach what the state requires, not their own. Teachers should not be teaching opinion. Whether theirs or someone else's. I mean, it's I taught chemistry. I did not spend a lot of time on politics at all in chemistry. Actually, I never spent any time on politics in chemistry. There's no reason for that. You know, if you're teaching math, math is math. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat, Republican. When you do math, it's math. That's what's beautiful about it, to be honest. We can't disagree. We can disagree on a lot of things. We can't really disagree on math. You know, I feel that way about most of it. I mean, if you have a class that's in question, there are certain classes that open itself up to wider ranging discussions. You may not want to offer that class. But once again, y'all approve the curriculum as well.
Another follow-up still. In Lebanon High School, students organized a protest against ICE.
Mm-hmm.
And the principal, I talked to, my granddaughter goes to school there, and I said, why are you supporting this? And he says, well, I just got together with them and I told them what they could do and what they couldn't do. I didn't really support them. Well, when he got together with them, that gave them credits of their object or their thought. How would you handle that?
Well, the First Amendment's a little bit misunderstood. You have a right to protest, and well, you don't really have a right to protest. You have a right to assemble. You have a right for your opinion to be heard. There are still consequences when you have that opinion. The federal government is not going to arrest you and put you in jail for your opinion. But if I badmouth my superintendent in the paper, he can fire me anytime he wants. That's his right. I have a right to say it, won't get arrested. I can't say things. They don't have a right to interrupt school. You know, they certainly have a right to their opinion. I will defend with my life their right to their opinion. But they don't have a right to interrupt class. And that's what you would deal with. You wouldn't deal with their opinion. You would deal with the fact they interrupted class. They caused a disturbance. They also caused a huge safety concern. You know, kids not being supervised is a huge safety concern. When they, do these walkouts and things, bad things can happen quickly. And that, once you agree with them, disagree with them, it doesn't matter. I don't get an opinion as a teacher. I'm neutral on everything. I get to vote. I get outside of school, I get to have my opinion. But in school, I'm neutral on all things. And I can't protect them if they're not doing what I tell them to do. And, that's probably how I would approach it with kids, is I can't take care of them. My job as principal is to take care of them. We've not had a walkout at Central. But, we might have some kids back there.
I was disappointed you went with them because what I envisioned happening, there's gonna be students there, and then there's gonna be students on the other side. And first thing you know, it escalates.
Yes.
By the fact that he even met with them, he sort of gave his approval, even if he didn't give his approval. On the outside, I learned about this on the radio, I'm not gonna say whatever it was. So I called the principal, and he tried to explain it away best he could without explaining anything.
I don't know the principal in person, but hopefully he was meeting with them to try to help them keep them safe. Come up with a plan that they wouldn't be put in danger. Because once again, that's
what he said he was doing, but he was also allowing them. I'm sorry. Thank you answered it. Thank you.
One question from me.
Yes.
Simple. You have children?
Yes.
They attend public school, private school, or were they homeschool?
They went to public school. My son missed us by a year. He graduated Blackman High School. He then went to Tennessee Tech, got his PhD in nuclear physics from Michigan State. My daughter went to Tennessee Tech. You're gonna hear that a lot. And she graduated Central Magnet School, my second graduating class. She was the first student to go freshman through senior, or first group of students to go freshman through senior. Then she got a master's at Middle Tennessee State, and she's a school counselor.
As far as that concludes our interview, and you're free to leave. You're free to stick around. You're free to just make sure you get yourself on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Jim, she did. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Harpo, your mother drove one that way, my mother drove one that way, Cosette West and Beth Smith, and, what's he doing now?
Let's go ahead and work together.
Really? Okay.
He said, probably wouldn't do that nowadays, but back then, before COVID, it takes a couple full time.
Yeah, Jesse, but we had to go, we did half a day of kindergarten at Carthage Elementary, was the only place they had it.
You're right.
Oh.
Before you start telling stories.
Oh, so we would go, then we'd ride the bus home.
Yeah.
My brother, we did all, they did like home demonstrations and other stuff. And, I ain't seen you. Lord,
They don't have to reach. Still live right in front of the house he grew up in. How about that?
and I didn't get to mention to Mr. Bush, but he actually let me out. He was chief of police department.
Yeah.
And, I got a speeding ticket on that 25. He let me out.
A lot of us got speeding tickets on that.
Yeah, I won, but I
18,
I guess, and it would have been a big deal. He let me out. Now, his father, Homer, was superintendent of Ward probably 60 years ago, literally, and he was elected superintendent. And then, but yeah, he hired my father. And my father was at, Close Brush Creek.
You got the short straw, huh?
And he went first grade, and he's out there in the fourth grade. And then he went home, but only got sick.
Do I sit here
They,
then?
they actually was closed Turner. First tell me it didn't open on time, so they let Turner open 2 months into school. Appreciate
I told Jesse you that time.
Oh, no problem.
It's on my dad, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's probably retired. I started, Coach Mayfield was the coach when I got out of high school. And, he was a very nice person. He did care about the kids. He was-
So now I don't have to do nothing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's tough. Well, there's always saying it's not the Texas and those, it's Bobby's and Joe's. You don't have to have it, and that's when you judge a coach. Kids should get better. It should be organized. And they should get better as the season goes on, but if they're horrible, better may not be great. So, anyway, now, who's married to Amy Richardson?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you knew my wife.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went to school together a long time. We graduated together. Her father was principal of elementary school forever.
Yeah, you know, director of schools.
Yeah.
My mother was a supervisor of education. So we're going.
He's got his priorities straight.
So much.
Thank you.
Patriot, not, you might wait for it.
It's not really I appreciate it.
You can tell him the situation.
They've been great so far.
That was sadly the first basketball game I got to this year, yesterday, last night. I'm trying to go and watch the boys play tonight.
The girls are really, girls are really good fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't,
Play them
most
down.
time when I go, I get hit. It's hard enough. I try to make it a football game, but my wife, my son, he played basketball and football in junior high and high school, played football. My daughter, she cheered junior high and all through high school. So we went through roughly an 8-year period where I had to go to every junior high football, basketball game and every high school football and basketball game, and I got burned. I just got burned.
My two biggest sports. I always was a junior college, she had been sports for college. I was playing sports, I mean, I was the same way.
Now, I'll watch them sometimes if, you know, if I, or listen to them sometime on the radio. I'm gonna try to sit and that boys game tonight. Right now, tournament time is where I like to sit and play. Right now, I can't, you know what I'm saying? It can't.
It's really, it's a fun time of year for basketball.
I afraid your daughter got beat up pretty bad last night. They was poking her in the face and stuff. I felt sorry for her.
She was rebounding one time and they had a hold of this arm and she had the ball over here and it's pulling on. She
got, I don't know if it made a mark on her or not. She got hit pretty hard under her cheek.
she keeps her cool pretty well. I don't know, some of those kids I wouldn't react to. But she does a good job. Staying.
Is that family? I'm glad they're doing better.
Yes. They're fun to watch.
Coach Rock, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
Are you?
All right, you all right?
No. Probably real cowhide, I think. I don't know about him.
You didn't want to take no lunch break?
No,
We figured.
no, I was good.
we better-
If y'all are good, I'm good.
You get a tired asking the questions. I'm good.
You're doing a good job, Daddy.
Trying to be loud and understand. That's what it takes.
You defended her.
He's talking about Coach Ash. He was the high school basketball coach in Scotty State.
I didn't know who you were.
How many years did you coach in?
Yeah.
10.
That's what I was thinking.
Girls and boys. You coached my college.
I got you. What did you say? I said the road.
But you think you snack on there? Think you
I
like-
think
I had well, my office is upstairs, so I had some things up there. Go and get. So I'm good.
We'll let the others filter in a story. We decided that March the 9th, we're gonna cancel the second round of interviews. We're gonna have our board meeting to pick the 3 we're gonna take on. So March the 16th, Monday night, 5 o'clock is when we'll interview the final 3. And then on March 17th, we'll make an announcement of the person we picked for director of schools. So we're gonna kind of lay it a week. And hopefully I'll get together and have. Okay, all ready?
And you got one on the Zoom call.
Yeah, we got Mr. Lewis is on Zoom call. He'll chime in here in a minute.
Okay.
And we've let Mr. Hessen, their spokesman, he's done an excellent job asking the questions. Okay?
So on behalf of the board, we would like to welcome you and thank you for coming. We'll start off with the first question. Tell us a little about yourself and why you want to be our next director of schools.
Okay. Well, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. About myself, I've been in education my entire adult life. I've been in a lot of different positions. I've had a lot of experience and knowledge over the years. I think what I've done here in the county, what I've done before I came here in the county, the next logical step for me in my career would be director. I've been in pretty much every position. Personally, I'm married, got 2 kids. I live in Riddleton. I enjoy Smith County. I enjoy the entire, county. I've been in every school. And I think my relationships with a lot of the people in the school systems and a lot of people in the county, it's just a logical step for me.
Question 2, what is your leadership style and what strengths do you bring to this position to lead Smith County schools successfully?
Well, I lead by example. I think that if you set a good example, I think if you, and people will follow, I think you have high expectations of people. I think you set high expectations of people. I'm consistent. I don't think I really get too high on things. I don't think I get way too low on things. I think I have a good approach about decision making, and a lot of times I'm a rule follower. So if we got policies in place and things like that, then those things need to be followed. I want to encourage people. I want to compliment people. I want to, do positive things so people react positively. But again, if if there's a situation where I have to make a hard decision, I'm capable of making that also. So, I just think transparency, like communicating with people, director's going to be a 24 7 days a week. I think you need, communication with you all is key. I think respect for you all is key. I think just, and I think I'm that person that, puts that out there. I treat people like I want to be treated, to be honest. And the leadership part of it is, there's a lot of different ways you can lead and a lot of different ways you may have to lead. Like I said, you may have to make a hard decision. Compliments go a long way. Positivity goes a long way. I think I'm capable of making any decision I need to make as far as being director.
What would be your 3-year strategic vision for Smith County Schools, and what measurable indicators would you use to evaluate progress?
Well, my vision would be I want the school system to be the best one in the Upper Cumberland, and I think along the way of that 3 years, I think there's a lot of things that can be done, a lot of things that can be improved on, and then what's good, I think we need to take it to the next level. I think that goes a long way. We get test scores, obviously. I mean, we're graded by our test scores. I think there's a lot of good things in place. I think we need to make sure that they stay in place and they're expanded upon. I think, we need to look at data and find out what's working, what's not working, and improve what's not working. But my 3-year plan would be, I want this to be the best system in the Upper Cumberland. I don't want a lot of turnover when people come here. I want them to enjoy teaching here. I want them to stay here. I want buy into the system. And again, I think, just laying out those plans and those expectations go a long way.
How should a district balance preparation for post-secondary education, workforce readiness, and career technical pathways?
I think there's a way for all of that. I think we should offer as many programs as possible to hit every student as possible, whether they're college bound, whether they're whether they're blue collar bound, whatever. I think we should offer whatever we can offer in reasonable situation for every student to be successful, no matter what path they take. We all know every kid's not made for college. And we know, a lot of kids, like to get their hands dirty and work hard. And I think we should have something for all of those kids. As director, and I think it's my responsibility to see that a lot of that happens as far as those opportunities and those programs for each area, for every student to be successful, no matter what they do.
How would you improve student performance on state assessments such as Tennessee Ready while maintaining a well-rounded educational experience?
I think it starts with data. I think you have to look at data and look at your strengths. And I think you have to look at areas where you're not scoring as well. And then I think you have to look at, okay, what did this teacher do to score well in math? And this teacher in this other school is not scoring well in math. I'm just making up math, it's just a subject. But what did they do not to score as well? I think we could mirror one teacher to another. I think we can say, okay, this worked here. We can go and teach the same curriculum here, which we do. And I think we need to learn from each other. I think we have data meetings, which are really good, where all the principals talk and they discuss what's working for them, what's not working for them. I think those are really good meetings. I think, data-driven information is key when you're looking at test scores. You know, demographic, what kid, scored low, what grade level scored low. You can get into even what class scored on those tests and determine, what might have happened in that class, what you can improve that class on. I think across the district, we offer the same curriculum to everybody, and it's set up to be successful on that test. So we just need to look at what's working, what we can improve on, and always, that should be always first priority, the success of the students in this county on that test and during their stay in this school system. I think that should be the number one priority of the director, to make sure they're successful. You just have to look at everything involved on that, what's involved, why that student is scoring well or not scoring well on the test, and take that data and make informed decisions.
How visible should a superintendent be within the schools, and how would you structure ongoing engagement with students and staff?
I think they should be visible every day. I don't think you have to visit every school every day, but I think they should be out and visible. And I don't want, when I walk in, everybody to be on pins and needles. I want them to understand I'm there to help. I'm there to see what's going on. And I'm there to see good things. I'm not there to go, gotcha or whatever. I want to, what I've done in the last going on 9 years, I think has really prepared me for something along these lines, because I'm an evaluator and district testing coordinator. So I have evaluated all the principals, assistant principals, and a lot of the teachers in there. So I have a good relationship with a lot of the faculty here in the county. So I want to be able to walk in a building and them be comfortable around me if something's going on, or they think something can be improved, or they think, something that needs to be, I want to hear from them, the people on the ground doing the work. But visibility, I think it's a responsibility. I think visibility is responsibility. I think, you need to be visible in the community as well as in the schools during school day. I think you need to be available. And is that always feasible? You're going to have meetings, you're going to have things that happen, but when you can, I think you need to be out in the system.
So how are public schools funded in Tennessee, and do you believe the community should better understand school finance? Why or why not?
Yes, I think they should be able. I think we should be more transparent on how the funds are spent, what's allocated, what we're getting. I mean, how the budget is going. You hear all kinds of things on this, talk about the budget and stuff, and I mean, sometimes you don't even know. I mean, I think if you're forward and transparent and you try to relate what you're doing and how the budget works and stuff, I think it's just a better understanding for everyone. I think it eliminates some of the, I don't know, chatter, whatever, going around or it goes around during the budget. Obviously it's been the biggest conversation for the last, year and a half, about the school. So I think it's very important to know what's going on and let people know what's going on.
What are the first 3 areas you would review when assessing a school district's financial health?
Well, first of all, I would probably do what you all did when you talked about the director's position. I would probably look at restructuring some things. I would probably look at I would look first year in the central office to restructure, see where we can put people that would give us the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak. I think then you would probably, I would look at the alternative school. I would look at how that has been the last 2 or 3 years and what we've done there. I would look at maybe restructuring that, just budget wise. I would look at our hiring practices. I would think and this takes a while, but I would streamline our hiring practices. I think sometimes we hire and we don't match up what teaching opening we have. Say we're hiring a coach. Sometimes we get too many teachers in one subject area where we don't need. And I think that's where we get in trouble sometimes with our budget and some of our allocations. I think in a perfect world, if you got a teaching opening and a coaching opening, you want to match those two up. Now, is that always going to happen? Absolutely not. But I think if we streamline that and we look at that first, I think we can eliminate some of the overflow of one subject area where we don't need that many teachers in that subject area. I think we need to look inside the system when there's an opening. I think, you may be at Union Heights and your enrollment's down and the enrollment goes up at Smith County Middle. I think we need to look at moving that teacher to Smith County. That teacher still has a job in the county, but I think to get our bang for our buck, we don't leave that teacher at Union Heights and hire somebody at Smith County Heights, that's not in the system. I think that's one way of streamlining what we're doing. I mean, if you've got, and the teachers to be able to move around from school to school in the county, I think would help a lot as far as the hiring practices go. I think in the long run, I think we need to look at stipends instead of percentages. I think, and I'm not saying anybody needs to take a pay cut or anything like that. I'm saying when we give percentages to extracurricular, whatever we do, we get hit double. If you get a raise, a teacher raise, your percentage is based on your teacher's salary. So you're getting hit double. You're getting hit with a teacher's raise and you're getting hit with a raise for your percentage people that get paid on a percentage. I think if you do that, then you can see exactly how much money you're paying for extracurricular, things like that. So in your budget, you don't have to go, well, maybe, because if you get a step raise, if you go from 5 to 10 years and you get a step raise on their pay scale, and that's just an example, you're going to get a raise on your supplement, whatever you're doing, because that's a percentage of your teaching salary. And in a lot of districts around, I found out do the stipend, and you can make it fair, but in a budget situation where you're trying to make things more feasible and be more fiscal responsibility. I think that's one thing we need to look at in the future. Can we we need to look at do we own property that we don't? I have no, we got things that we don't need. We got things like that. I mean, that's something, we all got to sit down, if I'm director, we sit down and discuss. I mean, do we have those kind of things? Do we, non-essential things that we support? Do we need some non-essential things? Can we put people in different positions that we get, like I say, that can be more beneficial than what they're doing? I mean, just, making sure everything is just, like federal. Can we move more people to federal so less money comes out of local? I mean, can we do things like that? I mean, when you're looking at all that, you got to look at, all different things to do that. And I think, that for me, those things, if I'm hired as director, that's some of this, that could be getting done pretty quick as far as that kind of stuff, like those kind of things. As far as somebody coming in new, they have to, have to really delve into what's going on, what's happening.
In the event of a budget shortfall, would you be willing to make staffing cuts if necessary to meet financial obligations? Or would you try to find new revenue streams to address the gap?
Well, like I said earlier, my biggest priority is the safety and the well-being and the academic success of the students of Smith County, all the schools. And to answer that question, yes on both. The first thing you would do is try to look to see if you could have new revenue streams, grants, whatever, on that. But if it come down to it, I mean, if you have to, like I said, hard decisions have to be made. I'd be willing to look at, everything as far as if the budget is, needs to be a certain point. I mean, we all have to look at it and see what's going on.
Where do you see the greatest opportunities for improvement in our school district?
I think it's coming in the next couple of years. I think what we've put in place, what we have now, and what we're expanding on, what we're improving on, I think our district's going to be a reward district, and I think we're going to be consistently a reward district. I think we need to make sure that still happens. I think there's not a lot of changes that need to be made as far as how we're teaching, what we're teaching, how we're checking on the students' benchmarks every so often, and really calling in on that kind of thing. I think we just need to make sure we don't go backwards. I think we need, whatever we're doing now, I think we need to improve. I think we need to make sure we're staying on top of it and not get to a certain point and go, we've made it. They always say the biggest thing is if you get successful, it's harder to stay at that point than it is to get there. So I think that, putting steps in and monitoring and conversations and walkthroughs and visits to the schools and conversations with the administrators and everything like that is all part of making sure, everything is in line and we improve on what we're doing.
Last question.
Yeah. We're gonna go around and each board member's got a question they want to ask you.
Okay.
Mr. Story, we're gonna start. Mr. Lewis is on the screen up there. So, Scott, you wanna go ahead and start?
Hey, Mr. Story, thank you for being with us today, and I apologize for not being there personally. I'm having a little issue here that I didn't want to give everybody else. Let me ask you, kind of along the lines of the visibility and all that with the school director. We have other obligations, I feel like, within the community, different organizations and things like that, the county commission, all that. How do you plan? Do you have plans? Do you have thoughts about your visibility and interaction with those things as well?
Yes, I think the director's job comes with the responsibility of being visible in the community, of being part of the community. I think, a good professional working relationship with the mayor and the county commissioners and the finance people and the budget people, that needs to take place. That needs to be grown upon and realize that everybody that from the mayor to the county commissioners to us to the director to everybody, we're responsible for the education of these kids in this county. And I think we all need to work together. I think we don't need to be divided or divisive. Now, are we going to agree on everything and everybody's going to have different opinions? Absolutely. But I think there's a professionalism where, if you tell me you disagree on me, it's not gonna be the end of the world. We're gonna have a conversation on why you disagree, or if I disagree with you all, or the mayor, or the commissioners, or whoever. I think it needs to be a professional working relationship to where we can sit down and have some good debates and come to the best conclusion we can have on some of the decisions. But yeah, director needs to be seen in the community. He needs to be out. He needs to be, you know, there's a standard that the director needs to hold too, I think, as far as, you know, when he's in the community.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
we've touched already on some of the financial stuff, so I'm not gonna bring that up. If you was elected as the director of Smith County School System, how long could you see yourself being in that role? Before you maybe want to retire or
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah, as long as y'all would have me, probably, as long as I feel like I could do the job. You know, I'm definitely not ready to retire. You know, I think I could, in a lot of ways, I think I can devote more time to it because my youngest one is senior and she plays basketball at Lawrenceville. She's going to be finishing in college. So, you know, when they go off to college, I think I'll have more time to put forward with that. I think it's good timing for me to, like I said, to take this next step. And you know, as long as y'all think I'm doing a good job, and from that, you know, I haven't set a date or an age or a time or whenever, you know. I just, you know, like I said, just as long as y'all have me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Story, what year did you graduate high school?
1982.
82. Do you consider yourself a disciplinary type of individual? I know you played collegiate ball.
Yes.
So I'm sure you're very disciplined.
Yeah, I consider myself that. I consider myself pretty focused on, you know, goals, on things that need to be done that day, on, you know, chores and tasks and things that need, you know, attention, that, you know, get it done. Let's get to the next thing, you know, let's figure out the best possible solution to what's in front of me. And when we make that, you know.
So one more, may done been asked, so don't forgive me if I did, but what one leadership quality do you think would separate you from, of course, you didn't hear the other candidates that were being interviewed, but if you could tell me in essence what you think is a strong, very strong leadership that you have. You've been under a director of schools for a couple of years now, not even comparing that, but I'm saying, what makes you different than anybody you feel like in your eyes? That's
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before. I don't think I get real high, you know, upset about anything. I don't think I get real low or mad. You know, I'm not extreme one way or the other. I'm pretty logical. I know there's two sides to every story. I know that things need to be, you know, investigated, talked out and stuff. I'm not a knee jerk, let's do this, make this decision kind of person. I think, especially if you're the director, you have to have some kind of demeanor about you to where, you know, a lot of things need to be investigated and found out before you start just, you know, make your decisions.
okay. Thanks, sir.
So the question that I've had so far, we've adopted the 81 Act, says, how do you build working relationships with the mayor and the county commission that is cooperative, but preserves the school system's independence and mission?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think there's a professionalism there that you have to have with those, you know, with the mayor and the county commissioner. But also, I think my mindset going in is I'm going to fight for what's best for the school system. I'm going to go in, and I think they're going to know that, but I think I'm going to be respectful for that. I'm going to treat them as, you know, with respect and as professional as I can. But, you know, they're going to know that, you know, what I ask or what my decisions are going to be made is going to be the best for the students and the system. And, you know, and no personal thing involved, no agendas or anything like that. Just, I mean, that was what drive me every day when I got up. What's going on today that is going to be the best for our students.
Mr. Story, in past many years, the National Education Association, many institutions of higher learning have promoted an agenda that undercuts our nation's traditional American values, such as patriotism. What actions will you take to protect the traditional and conservative values that are held by our community and its families?
Well, I would try to make sure that they stay that way. I would try to make sure that all the legal stuff that I could do to make it stay that way. I would, you know, if something came up, I would definitely make sure that, you know, if it's not what you know, conservative traditional values, you know, it would be a priority of mine to keep those. And I would try to keep those in every way possible. You know, that's what talking Ms. Moore here to say, what can we do legally? What are we restricted to do? I know there's policies everywhere that you got to look at, and there's people standing around everywhere wanting to, gotcha, you got to do that, you know, ready to sue the school system or make sure the school system does this or that. But no, I would definitely make sure that those values would be there if possible. I'd do everything I could to do that.
I have one more question, and I think I know the answer to this, but I was going to do it for the people that's watching. I know you got one daughter. I think you got two daughters. Two daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Were they homeschool, public school, or private school, or a little bit of both, or a combination, or whatever?
Well, we were in Kentucky. My oldest daughter, she went to kindergarten in first grade, and the school in Kentucky was kind of the opposite of what he was talking about. And we just thought it was a family value. When we took them out of school, my kids were different. They were different when we took them out. We homeschooled them. My wife was great doing that, and they're successful. My daughter's, she's got a 3.8 at Cumberland and ready to be a pharmacist. My oldest one, or my youngest one's been accepted to every college she's applied for. So homeschool for us worked. It was because of the situation we were in Kentucky. And it also made the move here easier, really. They weren't losing, you know, curriculum. I mean, we did that. And if we lived here from the start, maybe we would put them here because I like the school systems that we have, you know, the K2, K8 buildings. But it was a situation where we felt it was best for us and our girls and our family. It turned out great.
Well, I think this is going to wrap up our interviews, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how y'all are, but this is going to be a tough decision. We've had 4 really, really great candidates today. I'm telling you guys, this is really great. It's been impressive. Thank you, Mr. Story.
Yes.
And this is going to conclude this, unless y'all got something else you want to say or anything. So if that's the case, the interview session is over. Yeah, no, please sit down.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Can I leave? You want to leave too with Scotty?
Yeah. With Scott, and Mr. And Mr. Tyler, you got another?
Yes. Thank you.
Scotty, I've got yours. All right, guys, we do have lunch. I'm just gonna stay. There's lunch out there we'll grab.
I may grab and go.
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
Very, very impressive all the way around. Yeah, it's a very good book. Whatever you got.